Not everything Earth created was meant to be found. In the shadows of maps and the silence between borders, there are places that defy reason, and they almost seem unreal. This is a descent into the planet's most forbidden beauty, where danger whispers and wonder dares you to come closer. Welcome to the hidden gems the world tried to forget. The wind sighs softly through the dense emerald canopy above, where morning mist clings to the moss-covered trunks like nature's veil. Deep in the remote heart of Colombia lies a realm that feels almost imagined. Caño Cristales, the river of 5 colors. Hidden away in the Serranía de la Macarena National Park, this otherworldly waterway defies all expectations. From July through November, the river transforms into a surreal canvas of reds, yellows, greens, blues, and blacks. Not from minerals nor dyes, but from an aquatic plant known as Macarenia clavigera, which blooms in vivid glory beneath the crystal-clear waters. As the sunlight filters down and dances along the river's gentle ripples, the colors shimmer with each movement, shifting like a living kaleidoscope. Rocky outcroppings, sculpted by millennia of flowing water, form natural pools and channels, their surfaces carved and pocked like the terrain of another planet. The silence here is profound, interrupted only by the soft splash of water or the call of a distant bird echoing through the jungle. It's a place where you don't just witness nature, you feel its heartbeat. There are no sprawling resorts or manicured pathways here, only raw, untouched beauty, accessible only by a short flight and a journey on foot, horse, and riverboat. Each step draws you further from civilization and closer to something timeless. This isn't just a destination, it's a living miracle etched into the rainforest floor, a place that must be seen to be believed, and even then, still feels like a dream. Tucked within the folds of northern Albania, where the Dinaric Alps soar toward the sky and valleys remain lost in silence, lies a village nearly untouched by time. Theth. Enclosed by dramatic limestone peaks, this alpine hamlet whispers secrets of an old world, where shepherds still guide their flocks through mist-covered meadows, and stone houses with wooden roofs perch like sentinels on the green slopes. The road to Theth is not an easy one, narrow, winding, and carved precariously into mountainsides. But it is precisely this seclusion that has preserved its soul. As the sun rises over the Valbona Pass and spills gold over the valley, Theth emerges like a painting brought to life. Waterfalls cascade from cliffs wrapped in shadow. The Gruna's waterfall crashes into a basin of impossibly turquoise water, its roar echoing through ancient pine forests. A short hike leads to the Blue Eye of Theth, a hidden spring of crystal clarity that glows from within, as if lit by magic. The air carries the scent of juniper and stone, and the only traffic here is a shepherd leading his goats or a hiker pausing to absorb the surreal stillness. The Church of Theth, white and humble, stands quietly against the mountain's strength, a symbol of endurance and belief. Time slows here. The stars at night are diamond-sharp, scattered across a sky so vast and untouched, it seems prehistoric. There is no Wi-Fi to tether you to the modern world, only the soft hum of wind through the valley, the clang of cowbells in the distance, and the unspoken invitation to forget, if only for a moment, everything else. In the highlands of central Madagascar, far from the beaten paths and bustling coasts, there exists a place so extraordinary, it defies logic and expectation, Tsingy de Bemaraha National Park. Here, the earth itself seems to rise in defiance of gravity, thousands upon thousands of sharp limestone pinnacles, called Tsingy, pierce the sky like a petrified forest of stone blades. Seen from above, the landscape resembles an ancient maze, as if giants carved their will into the crust of the world. Beneath the razor-sharp towers lies an ecosystem so unique, so sheltered by its own geological armor, that species exist here found nowhere else on Earth. Lemurs leap between the narrow ridges, their silhouettes dancing against the setting sun. Rare birds glide between the spires, their calls echoing through the labyrinth of stone. Even the trees seem to cling to life with a fierce tenacity, growing sideways from vertical cliffs, roots wound tightly in the smallest cracks. Traversing the Tsingy is no ordinary hike. It's an expedition. Suspended walkways stretch across gorges, metal ladders cling to walls like scaffolds, and every step must be careful, deliberate, reverent. The air is dry, clean, infused with the scent of dust and life surviving against the odds. This place was forged in time's furnace, shaped by water and wind and patience beyond comprehension. To walk among the Tsingy is to stand inside the bones of the earth itself, ancient, eternal, and watching. Along the remote southern coast of Japan, concealed by layers of mist and mythology, lies the hauntingly beautiful island of Yakushima. A land of rain and dreams, this emerald isle is draped in ancient forests, so dense and alive, they feel like the lungs of the planet. The island's crown jewel is its primeval cedar trees, some more than 7,000 years old, silent giants with bark like woven armor, roots sprawling like frozen rivers through the mossy floor. As you step beneath their towering canopies, the forest swallows the world. Time becomes irrelevant. Sunlight filters through layers of green, refracted by moisture, creating an ethereal glow that lingers in the air. The soundscape is hypnotic. Raindrops tapping leaves, the distant rustle of deer, the occasional call of a yaku macaque. Every path feels sacred, every stone a relic of some older, forgotten civilization. The Jomon Sugi, the island's most revered tree, stands like a monument to eternity. Reaching it requires a journey through winding trails, footbridges over roaring rivers, and moments of awe so profound they stop you mid-step. It's no surprise this enchanted realm inspired the Studio Ghibli film Princess Mononoke. Nature here does not simply surround you, it possesses you. In Yakushima, the forest is not background. It is alive, watching, welcoming, waiting. And once you walk beneath its dripping leaves, something inside you quietly changes. Hidden within the dry, rugged heart of Jordan and eclipsed by the fame of Petra, lies a site of staggering serenity and mystery. Dana Biosphere Reserve. A land caught in perpetual twilight between desert and mountain, its sweeping canyons and plateaus seem sculpted by the breath of the gods. Here, the terrain folds in endless variations. Red sandstone cliffs stacked like ancient books, olive groves clinging to wind-blown terraces, and sun-scorched plateaus that melt into golden horizons. The village of Dana, perched on the edge of a deep gorge, is a scatter of stone houses that seem as old as the rocks themselves. Silence dominates. Occasionally, the bray of a donkey or the call to prayer floats through the dry air. But mostly, there is just wind and space. Space so vast it humbles every thought you carry. Trails lead deep into the reserve, where rare ibex navigate cliff edges with impossible grace, and vultures drift overhead in slow, sacred spirals. At sunset, the canyons glow with fire, shadows long and amber light dripping down stone like molten honey. The stars arrive early and fiercely, painting the sky in crystalline clarity. You feel far from everything, yet intimately connected to something older than language. In Dana, the land does not scream for your attention. It whispers, and in its whispers you find the sacred, the forgotten, the eternal. High in the cloud-kissed mountains of northern Vietnam, there exists a village draped in fog and folklore, a place where the land seems suspended between myth and reality. Hoang Su Phi. Far removed from the flow of modern tourism, this remote district in Ha Giang province is a revelation of ancient culture and surreal beauty. Here, the land folds into waves of emerald rice terraces, curved and layered like the rings of a sleeping dragon. Each step carved into the hillside by generations past is an ode to patience and harmony with the earth. When dawn breaks, the entire valley becomes a watercolor dream. The terraces shimmer with dew, reflecting pink skies and drifting clouds, as if the heavens have stooped to rest upon the fields. During harvest, the greens turn to gold, and the mountains glow as if lit from within. The air is crisp, pure, tinged with wood smoke and the soft aroma of growing rice. Hmong and Red Dao villagers, adorned in vibrant traditional garments, tend to their fields or walk narrow trails, their presence part of the rhythm of this enchanted place. It is not just the views that linger in memory, but the quiet dignity of life here, rooted, resilient, and untouched by haste. Trekking through Hoang Su Phi means wandering through time. You cross footbridges over whispering rivers, climb ridges where wild orchids bloom, and at night, under a sky littered with stars, you realize that this hidden sanctuary holds something the modern world has forgotten. The elegance of living slowly, deeply, and in tune with the breath of the mountains. Amid the sweeping volcanic highlands of Ethiopia, concealed within the depths of the Simien Mountains, lies a secret cathedral carved not of stone, but of fire and sky, Abuna Yamata Gu. This monolithic church, etched into a sheer sandstone cliff, stands over 2,500 meters above sea level, accessible only to those willing to scale the vertical rock face with nothing but footholds and faith. The ascent is not for the faint-hearted. You climb barefoot, fingers gripping time-smoothed ridges, the abyss yawning below with every upward step. Yet, with every breathless meter gained, the world below grows smaller, and something deeper begins to rise within, a kind of primal reverence. At the summit, the entrance to the church yawns like a secret long buried, and when you pass through, a new world unfolds. Inside, the walls bloom with ancient frescoes, vivid portraits of saints and angels painted over 1,000 years ago, their colors unfaded by time, their eyes wise with eternity. The air is still and cool, filtered through centuries of devotion. Sunlight spills through a narrow slit in the stone, casting beams upon the altar. Outside, the world spreads in silence, peaks and plateaus dissolving into haze. This place was not built to attract pilgrims. It was born from a need to touch the divine in solitude. Abuna Yamata Gu is not just a church. It is a prayer cast into the sky, a monument to the idea that the path to something sacred is never easy, but always worth the climb. Tucked along the turquoise embrace of the Adriatic Sea, yet hidden from the glamour of Croatia's coastal cities, lies the forgotten archipelago of Lastovo, a sanctuary of pine forests, crystalline coves, and whispering breezes. Lastovo is one of the most remote inhabited islands in the country, an emerald dot where the modern world retreats and nature reigns supreme. Time here stretches like the tides, slow and deliberate. The island's villages, stone-built and sun-washed, climb hillsides in a quiet elegance. Shuttered windows and curved chimneys nod to Venetian history, while the scent of rosemary and salt lingers in the alleys. The sea around Lastovo glows a spectral blue, so clear that you can watch the seabed ripple beneath your boat. It is a diver's dream, a sailor's escape, a poet's muse. Lastovo's crown jewel, however, is the starry sky. This island, protected as part of a nature park, boasts one of the darkest skies in all of Europe. When night falls, the heavens pour down in impossible brilliance. Constellations come alive, and the Milky Way stretches overhead in a luminous arc. It's as if the island's isolation is its gift, offering not only escape but communion. There are no crowds here, no noise, no need to hurry. Only you, the sea, the stars, and a silence so vast it feels like the earth itself exhaling. Lastovo isn't just hidden, it's sacred. In the snow-draped silence of the Altai Mountains, at the crossroads of Mongolia, Kazakhstan, and Russia, lies a landscape so profound in its solitude that it seems untouched by the passage of time. Lake Khoton. Cradled by larch forests and ringed by golden steppe, the lake glimmers like a mirror to the sky. Its surface so still, you can see the clouds journey across it with perfect clarity. Nomadic families still move with the seasons here, their yurts speckled across the horizon like pearls scattered in the grasslands. Yaks graze at the lake's edge, their reflections caught in the water, while eagles soar overhead, wings stretched wide like banners of freedom. There are no roads that lead here easily, only winding tracks over passes and rivers, only effort rewarded by wonder. When the wind stirs, the lake sighs. When it sleeps, the silence is so complete it humbles. At dawn, mist drapes the land like silk, and the mountains blush with light. In summer, wildflowers bloom in brilliant defiance of the cold, painting the shore in bursts of violet and gold. There are few places left in the world where one can feel so entirely alone and so entirely at peace. Lake Khoton is not a destination. It's a threshold to something older, deeper, and infinitely still. Where the dry lands of Chile bleed into the Atacama's northern edge, the wind-carved cliffs of Valle de la Luna stand like guardians of an alien planet. And nestled just beyond, barely known even to seasoned travelers, is a place sculpted in whispers and salt, the Piedras Rojas. Here, the high-altitude desert becomes an artist's canvas, painted with colors that defy logic. Rust-red rock formations wrapped around lagoons of neon turquoise, framed by the silent, snow-dusted Andes. It is a place where extremes collide. The sun burns and the air chills. Flamingos wade through shallow mineral lakes, their pink reflections mirrored in surreal clarity. The landscape looks alive, like it's breathing through the dry wind that scrapes across the plains. And yet, there's no movement, just the heavy hush of geological time, stretching endlessly into the horizon. You arrive not by chance, but by choice, bouncing across salt flats and gravel trails until the world falls away behind you. And when you step out into the luminous quiet, something shifts. The colors of the earth seem more vivid, the sky more infinite. You don't just look, you feel. The ancient energy of the land hums in your bones. Here, in this uncelebrated corner of the Atacama, the earth wears its oldest skin and dares you to listen. Deep in the Aegean, far from Santorini's sunsets and Mykonos's glamour, lies the island of Amorgos, where cliffs dive into sapphire seas and time bends to the rhythm of waves. This forgotten jewel of the Cyclades doesn't beckon. It waits, quiet and confident in its own mystery. Narrow trails meander through hillsides thick with thyme and oregano. Whitewashed villages cling to the mountains, their alleyways echoing with silence and the occasional bell from a wandering goat. The jewel of the island is the Hosoviotissa Monastery, improbably carved into the side of a sheer cliff, its blinding white facade peering over the vastness of the sea. To reach it, you climb steps carved from stone, the wind growing stronger with each step. Inside, the air is thick with incense and stillness. Icons gaze down from ancient wooden panels, and oil lamps flicker like stars in a sacred night. Below, the beaches of Agia Anna and Muros await, unspoiled and wild. The sea here is a shade of blue that doesn't seem possible, electric and deep, like the eye of some ancient deity. Days here dissolve into sun and salt, and nights wrap you in skies pierced with constellations. Amorgos doesn't dazzle in the conventional sense. It whispers, enchants, and anchors you. It is a place for those who seek not noise, but meaning. A true hidden sanctuary adrift in the eternal cradle of the sea. In the icy stillness of the Arctic, where glaciers groan and light plays in ethereal silence, lies an island seldom spoken of, almost mythic in its remoteness. Senja, Norway's secret northern crown. Overshadowed by the fame of the Lofoten Islands, Senja remains wild, raw, and gloriously untouched, a sculpted masterpiece where jagged mountains rise like fangs from deep fjords, and roads cling to cliffs in a ballet of engineering and nature. In summer, the midnight sun bathes the landscape in a gold that never dies, illuminating peaks that pierce the sky like cathedral spires. Hike to the summit of Segla, and the world drops away. Beneath you, a sheer cliff falls into the glistening fjord, while the sea stretches endless, breathing fog and light. Eagles circle in solemn majesty, and the wind speaks in hushed reverence. In winter, the land transforms again, swathed in snow and silence, with the northern lights cascading across the heavens like rivers of flame. Villages here feel like remnants of another age, weathered houses huddled against the cold, boats resting quietly on mirrored harbors, and fishermen casting nets as they've done for generations. The ocean whispers to the rocks, and the mountains loom with myth. Senja is not simply scenic, it is cinematic, every corner a frozen frame of epic wonder. Here, the earth is a storyteller, and every cliff, wave, and starlit sky is a verse in an ancient, never-ending saga. Beneath the dense jungles of central Laos, along the sleepy banks of the Nam Hinbun River, lies a cave so vast, it has its own weather system. Kong Lor Cave, or Tam Kong Lo, is one of Southeast Asia's most astonishing natural wonders, a cathedral of stone buried in the heart of the mountains. For years, it remained a secret, spoken of in hushed tones by locals who believed spirits lived within its depths. To enter Kong Lor is to drift into the bones of the earth. A narrow wooden boat carries you into the black mouth of the cave, lanterns casting trembling shadows on the soaring walls. The darkness here is complete, so deep it seems to swallow sound. But then the cave opens, and opens, and opens. For over 7 kilometers, the river carves its way through an underground kingdom. The ceilings stretch 100 feet above. Stalactites hang like frozen daggers, and hidden alcoves reveal chambers glittering with calcite formations that glow like moonstone in the lamplight. Occasionally, the guides stop and switch off the engines. Silence reigns. You are floating in a cavern that predates civilization, surrounded by walls shaped by patience and water. And when you emerge on the other side, blinking into sunlight, it feels like rebirth. Few places on Earth so perfectly embody the sensation of discovering another world. Konglor is not just a cave. It is an initiation into mystery, a descent into the deep quiet of geologic time, and a journey you carry within forever. On the southern coast of Italy, where the sun burns gold into the cliffs and the Tyrrhenian Sea rolls like liquid sapphire, hides a place even many Italians have never seen, Civita di Bagnoregio. Perched atop a crumbling volcanic mesa and connected to the world by a single narrow pedestrian bridge, this ancient village floats like a dream above the fog. Known as La Città che muore, the dying city, Civita is slowly succumbing to time, its cliffs eroding, its walls weathering like parchment. But what remains is nothing short of transcendent. Stone archways open into cobbled alleys lined with blooming geraniums. Sunlight plays on ochre walls, and every turn reveals vistas that stretch into rolling vineyards, olive groves, and the deep folds of the Lazio countryside. There are no cars here, no neon signs, only footsteps echoing off stone and the clink of cutlery from hidden courtyards. At dusk, the town glows in amber tones, the sky melting into lavender as church bells ring like echoes from centuries past. Civita doesn't try to impress. It whispers, seduces, and disappears into the mist. It is a place between worlds, where the present is thin and history pulses just beneath the surface. Visiting Civita is like walking into a forgotten poem, one that lingers long after the last line has faded. In the far reaches of the Philippine archipelago, far from the glittering beaches of Palawan and the tourist-drenched sands of Boracay, rests a secret whispered only among the most intrepid explorers. Calayan Island. Part of the Babuyan Islands and accessible only by long, weather-dependent boat rides, Calayan remains pristine, a lush, volcanic Eden surrounded by sapphire sea and sky. The coastline is jagged, wild, and theatrical. Waves crash against black cliffs, sending up fountains of white spray. Hidden coves shelter beaches of pale sand where no footprints linger. The most iconic of these is Sibang Cove, a crescent of powdery white embraced by emerald hills, its turquoise waters so clear they seem lit from within. Hike inland, and waterfalls tumble through rainforest, where hornbills call and monitor lizards slink beneath ferns. There is no luxury here. Electricity is sparse. Wi-Fi is a rumor, but in its place is something far more rare: clarity. Nights are painted with stars, and the Milky Way is a shimmering ribbon across the black dome above. The locals, few in number, share stories of sea spirits and weather gods, and offer food cooked over flame with a smile that feels like home. Calayan is the Philippines before postcards, a world of raw elements, wild heartbeats, and unscripted moments. Hidden deep in the Peruvian Andes, draped in mystery and thick jungle mist, is a place many believe rivals Machu Picchu in both scale and wonder, but remains almost entirely unknown: Choquequirao. Its name means cradle of gold, and walking through its stone terraces and ceremonial platforms feels like treading through the dreams of a forgotten empire. Unlike its famous sibling, Choquequirao sees only a handful of visitors each day, and reaching it requires effort. A 2-day trek through steep valleys, across rivers and switchbacks that test resolve and reward with silence. And then, suddenly, the jungle parts. Massive agricultural terraces fan across the mountainside like emerald wings. Llama-shaped stone carvings stare out from mossy walls. Grand staircases, once used by Incan priests and messengers, rise toward the heavens. The ruins are alive with solitude. You can sit in the central plaza and hear only the rustle of wind through trees. the distant cry of hawks, the beating of your own heart. There is no fence, no tour group, no rush. Only you and the presence of something vast and sacred. At sunset, the sight catches fire, stone and sky blending in a blaze of orange and purple. Choquequirao isn't just a lost city. It's a living threshold into the soul of a civilization that still lingers in the shadows of the Andes. Tucked into the high plains of Bosnia and Herzegovina, surrounded by rolling fields and blue ridges, lies a village lost in time. Ljukomir. At nearly 1,500 meters above sea level, this is the country's highest and most isolated permanent settlement. A cluster of stone houses with shingled roofs, perched on the edge of a dramatic canyon that cuts like a scar through the Dinaric Alps. Sheep graze along rocky slopes. The scent of wood smoke curls through the air. The villagers still wear traditional garments, speak in dialects older than the nation itself, and live by the rhythm of the land. There is no supermarket, no streetlight, only a single winding path in and out, often closed off by snow for much of the year. And yet, Ljukomir pulses with a fierce beauty. The Rakitnica Canyon unfurls below, a chasm carved by eons of wind and water. Wildflowers bloom defiantly in cracks of stone. The silence here is complete, as if the sky itself is listening. Sit on a boulder at the edge of the cliff, and you will feel it. A vastness that stretches not just across space, but across time. In Ljukomir, the modern world evaporates. What remains is elemental: wind, stone, soul. On the western fringe of Tasmania, where rainforest meets sea and clouds cling to every crag, lies a place so secluded that few have ever set foot there. Corinna. Once a gold mining town, now a ghost revived by nature's reclaiming hand, Corinna stands on the banks of the Paiman River, enveloped by temperate rainforest older than time itself. Tam Kong Lo Cave is one of Southeast Asia's greatest hidden wonders, a place where time seems to vanish, swallowed by the shadows of its immense interior. The entrance, framed by jagged cliffs and lush jungle, offers no hint of the vastness within. Only when stepping into a small wooden boat and gliding over the ink-black waters of the Nam Hin Bun River does the true scale of this natural wonder reveal itself. For nearly 4 miles, the river snakes through the pitch-black cave, passing beneath cathedral-like ceilings that stretch hundreds of feet overhead. The sound of dripping water echoes through the vast chamber, broken only by the soft splash of oars. Stalactites and stalagmites, formed over millions of years, rise like frozen waterfalls, their intricate formations illuminated by the glow of headlamps. Midway through the journey, a hidden beach emerges in the darkness, a surreal oasis where golden sands meet the silent black waters. Here, a short walk leads to chambers filled with rock formations that glisten as if carved from crystal. The cave's exit, a glowing arch of light in the distance, feels like a gateway back to the world above. Emerging into the daylight after such an immersive journey through the depths is like stepping from a forgotten realm into a place that suddenly feels brighter, sharper, and more alive. A realm of fire and stone. The ancient city of Petra in Jordan is a place where the past whispers through the walls of towering sandstone cliffs. Hidden within a labyrinth of rocky canyons, this UNESCO World Heritage Site is one of the most breathtaking archaeological wonders on Earth. Carved directly into the rose-red cliffs more than 2,000 years ago by the Nabateans, Petra's grandeur is revealed slowly, step by step, as visitors traverse the winding Sik, a narrow gorge flanked by towering walls that seem to touch the sky. As the passage opens, the sight of Al-Khazna, or the treasury, takes the breath away. Its intricate facade, carved with extraordinary detail, glows in hues of pink and gold as sunlight spills into the canyon. Towering columns, weathered statues, and delicate carvings hint at the lost civilization that once thrived here. But the treasury is only the beginning. Beyond lies an entire city sculpted from rock, colossal temples, royal tombs, and grand amphitheaters where thousands once gathered. The monastery, a hidden gem deep within Petra, rises like a fortress at the end of a challenging climb, its massive doorway dwarfing all who stand before it. From the heights of Petra's surrounding cliffs, panoramic views stretch across the rugged desert, revealing a landscape as timeless as the city itself. At night, Petra transforms into an even more magical sight. Thousands of candles flicker along the path through the sick, leading to the treasury, which glows under the soft light of the flames. The air fills with the haunting melodies of traditional Bedouin music, and for a moment, it feels as if the ancient city has awakened once more, alive with the echoes of history. Rising from the heart of the South Pacific, like a vision lost in time, the Marquesas Islands are a place where nature and legend blend seamlessly into an untamed paradise. Scattered across the vast blue expanse of the ocean, these volcanic isles remain one of the most remote and mesmerizing archipelagos on Earth. Towering cliffs, cloaked in emerald jungles, rise abruptly from the sea, their surfaces carved by waterfalls that plunge into hidden pools below. The air here carries a sense of the ancient, a whisper of stories passed down through generations, a connection to something raw and eternal. Sailing toward the Marquesas, the first sight is one of towering basalt peaks, their silhouettes piercing the sky like the remnants of a forgotten civilization. The waves crash against sheer cliffs, sculpting arches and caverns where seabirds find refuge. Upon arrival, the land greets you with a lush, untamed beauty. Thick rainforests filled with the scent of frangipani, the rhythmic sound of distant drums echoing through the valleys. Each island in the Marquesas holds its own unique charm, but one of the most captivating is Nuku Hiva. Here, waterfalls cascade from great heights, forming hidden sanctuaries beneath the jungle canopy. The famed Vaipo Falls, one of the tallest in Polynesia, tumbles from a cliff so high it vanishes into the mist before reaching the ground. The surrounding landscape is alive with wild horses galloping freely through the meadows, their silhouettes framed against the fiery glow of the setting sun. The culture of the Marquesas is deeply rooted in its past, and the presence of ancient marae, stone temples built by the ancestors, reminds visitors of a civilization that once thrived here. Massive tikis, their weathered faces frozen in time, stand as guardians of the land, their expressions holding secrets known only to the winds and waves. The people of the Marquesas, fiercely proud of their heritage, welcome travelers with the rhythm of the pahu drums and the hauntingly beautiful sounds of traditional chants. Beneath the waves, the underwater world is equally enthralling. The waters surrounding the Marquesas are teeming with marine life, from swirling schools of tropical fish to the graceful movements of manta rays gliding through the currents. The remoteness of the archipelago means that much of its ocean remains untouched, a pristine haven where the sea reveals its unspoiled majesty. As night falls over the Marquesas, the sky comes alive with stars, undimmed by the presence of city lights. Lying on a deserted beach, listening to the rhythmic lull of the waves, one cannot help but feel that this place exists outside of time, a last refuge of wild beauty, where nature and tradition continue their dance, uninterrupted and eternal. And now, to a place where the water writes poetry in turquoise, and the land folds in whispers of gold and limestone. The El Nido region of Palawan in the Philippines. Often overshadowed by more tourist-heavy islands, El Nido remains one of Earth's most cinematic seascapes, where every turn reveals a postcard that outshines the last. Here, limestone karsts shoot from emerald waters like the bones of ancient titans. The cliffs are sheer and primal, carpeted with jungle, their bases lapped by translucent seas. To move between them is to glide through a natural cathedral, the air scented with salt and wild orchids. Secret lagoons lie hidden within these formations, accessed only through narrow fissures in the rock, sometimes requiring you to dive underwater to reach the paradise on the other side. Small boats, known as bancas, skim across the waves carrying fresh seafood, cold coconut juice, and travelers with eyes wide in disbelief. The sea is so clear, it turns boats into shadows and swimmers into dancers on light. At low tide, sandbars stretch out like white silk across the horizon, curving between islands like brushstrokes from an unseen painter. The underwater world here is as intoxicating as the one above. Coral gardens bloom with more color than seems possible, home to sea turtles, reef sharks, and fish in every shape and pattern. Snorkeling off the shore of Miniloc Island or diving near Dilumacad feels like descending into a living dream, where each breath becomes slower, each movement more deliberate, in sync with the rhythm of the sea. At dusk, the sun melts behind the limestone silhouettes, staining the sky with impossible pinks and molten oranges. Bats flutter out from caves, fishermen pull in their nets, and the air grows still, holding its breath in reverence for the day. El Nido is not just a destination, it is a collection of reverent moments, of quiet laughter echoing in secret coves, of footprints left on islands you may never find again, of salt dried on skin and starlight caught in wet hair. And as night falls across this archipelago, the world feels impossibly vast and achingly intimate all at once. Hidden beneath the shadow of the Carpathian Mountains, deep within Romania's limestone heart, lies the luminous cavern of Scarășoara Ice Cave, a frozen cathedral formed during the last ice age. Stepping into its mouth is like descending into another epoch. The temperature drops, your breath fogs, and the ceiling above yawns open into a world of ancient frost and bone-white stillness. Inside, shafts of sunlight filter through openings above, igniting the ice in shades of cerulean and pearl. Massive columns rise like titans from the floor, sculpted over millennia by dripping mineral-rich water. It's eerily quiet. Only the occasional crack of shifting ice or the drip of meltwater breaks the hush, echoing like ancient voices in the stillness. Despite its isolation, locals have long revered the cave, speaking of spirits and gods that rest within its depths. A staircase hewn from rock descends through caverns and chambers, some of which hold mummified remains from centuries past. Evidence of ancient burial rites practiced long before modern Romania existed. There are no souvenir shops, no cafes, just the cold breath of the mountain and the ageless beauty beneath it. The Scarășoara Ice Cave doesn't try to impress you. It doesn't need to. It simply is, a monument to permanence in a world of change. On the northeast coast of Madagascar, where the rainforest kisses the reef and lemurs leap from tree to tree like echoes of a forgotten age, lies Masoala National Park. It is the island's largest protected area, and yet almost no one outside this hemisphere has ever heard of it. It is raw, wild, glorious. The trees here stretch skyward in a fever of green, their trunks wrapped in vines as thick as ropes. Rain falls in sudden bursts, then vanishes. The forest floor steams, and the call of exotic birds twines with the growl of hidden chameleons and the chatter of unseen primates. Red-ruffed lemurs perch high in the canopy, watching with curious golden eyes. Step beyond the trees, and you find a coast untouched. Coral reefs ripple just offshore in clear waters, home to sea turtles, clownfish, and the occasional passing whale. The beach is not manicured. It's wild, golden, and empty, except for driftwood and the occasional crab retreating into the surf. To explore Masawala is to immerse yourself in a place where Earth still behaves as it did long before humanity carved borders and roads into its skin. You come here not to conquer, but to yield, not to see, but to witness. Where the sun rises over the golden dunes of Central Asia and casts long shadows across a barren, breathless plain, the Ustjort Plateau stretches into the horizon like a forgotten frontier between time and space. Nestled between the Caspian and Aral Seas, spanning Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, this alien land seems untouched by both man and memory. It is a place of silence so absolute it hums. The terrain is surreal. Chalky canyons, towering limestone cliffs, and sprawling salt pans that gleam like shattered mirrors in the sun. Striated hills fold in on themselves like the skin of sleeping giants, and wind-sculpted rock pillars stand as solitary guardians of a realm lost to time. In the soft light of dawn, the land turns silver. At dusk, it glows red, and in the deep night, the Milky Way unfurls overhead like an ancient scripture written across the sky. Nomadic tribes once crossed these plains, their caravans leaving faint trails in the dust. Now, the only footprints belong to wild antelopes and foxes that skitter through the brush. The air smells of dry stone and salt. The wind carries nothing but the sound of its own breath. It is not a place of comfort, but it is a place of wonder. There is no Wi-Fi, no cafes, just a primordial hush that invites you to sit with your thoughts and become smaller in the best possible way. Deep within the limestone belly of Guangxi, where the land is carved into surreal waves of karst and the rivers snake like calligraphy through jade valleys, a cave pulses with light and sound. Reed Flute Cave, a cathedral beneath the earth. From the outside, it appears unassuming, a rocky slope tucked beside Lee River's gentle bends. But step inside, and the world melts into a fantasy of stone. Stalactites and stalagmites rise like frozen storms, catching the light in crystalline fire. Colored illumination, soft blues, royal purples, celestial greens, sweeps across the formations, casting shadows that dance like spirits across mirrored pools. Every chamber is a universe. In one, a spire arches upward like a lightning bolt caught mid-strike. In another, a silent lake reflects the ceiling with such precision it dissolves the boundary between water and air. The formations have names whispered by generations: Dragon Pagoda, Crystal Palace, Sky Pillar. And though they are shaped by millennia of slow, dripping water, they possess a grandeur more immediate than any palace wrought by man. The silence here is not emptiness. It is depth. Your footsteps echo in quiet reverence, as if the cave itself is listening. You run your fingers along stone that predates history, and somewhere deep in the shadows, a drop falls from above, soft as a breath, steady as time. Legends say ancient poets once stood where you now stand, composing verses by torchlight, humbled by the majesty of nature's secret art. Some say the cave is the lungs of a sleeping dragon, others that it is a gateway between worlds. Either could be true. Standing there, heart slowed to the rhythm of drip and echo, you believe both. outside, the world turns. But down here, beneath layers of mountain and myth, you are timeless. A labyrinth of ice and fire, Kamchatka's Valley of Geysers is one of the rarest and most extraordinary geothermal wonders in the world. Hidden deep within the Russian Far East, this remote valley is a place where steaming vents, boiling hot springs, and powerful geysers erupt in an untamed display of Earth's raw energy. Accessible only by helicopter, the journey itself is an adventure, soaring over volcanoes, emerald lakes, and vast tundra landscapes before descending into the valley's geothermal paradise. Upon landing, the air is thick with the scent of sulfur, and the ground trembles beneath the force of superheated water surging from beneath the Earth's crust. More than 90 geysers dot the valley, each one with its own unique rhythm. Some explode in towering jets of steam, while others bubble and churn in simmering pools of sapphire and emerald hues. The largest, Velikan, giant, erupts with thunderous force, sending scalding water nearly 100 feet into the air. Wooden walkways guide visitors safely through this volatile terrain, offering breathtaking views of steaming cliffs, mineral-rich terraces, and waterfalls that flow with a mixture of hot and cold water. It is a land of extremes, where snow-capped volcanoes loom in the distance, their slopes occasionally streaked with rivers of molten lava. The contrast of fire and ice creates an environment unlike any other, a place where the earth itself breathes, constantly shifting and reshaping the land. A place where nature's artistic hand has sculpted a masterpiece. The fjordlands of Norway are a breathtaking fusion of towering cliffs, cascading waterfalls, and mirror-like waters. Here, ancient glaciers carved deep valleys that now brim with shimmering blue fjords, each one a testament to the slow but relentless power of ice over time. The sheer rock walls, some rising over 3,000 feet, plunge dramatically into the still waters, creating a surreal landscape that feels almost too perfect to be real. Sailing through these fjords is an experience of pure wonder. The world seems to slow as boats glide past emerald green slopes and remote villages that cling to the cliffsides. The Geirangerfjord, one of the most famous, is framed by steep mountains and graced with waterfalls that tumble down in delicate silver threads. Among them, the Seven Sisters waterfall is the most enchanting, a collection of 7 streams that plummet gracefully into the fjord below. For those seeking adventure, hiking trails weave through the surrounding mountains, leading to panoramic viewpoints that leave visitors breathless. The famous Trolltunga, a jutting rock formation that hangs high above the fjord, offers one of the most dramatic views in Norway. The crisp mountain air, the sound of distant rushing water, and the sheer magnitude of the landscape combine to create an experience that lingers long after leaving. The fjords are a reminder of nature's quiet power, of how time, water, and ice can shape the world into something truly magnificent. Half a world away, where the rugged landscapes of Canada's Yukon Territory stretch toward the Arctic skies, a place of otherworldly beauty awaits. Kluane National Park, an expanse of towering peaks, colossal glaciers, and untamed wilderness, is a realm where nature exists in its purest, most powerful form. As you journey into Kluane, the first thing that seizes your senses is the scale of it all. Mountains rise like sentinels, their snow-capped summits piercing the heavens. The legendary Mount Logan, Canada's highest peak, dominates the horizon, its icy slopes shimmering beneath the northern sun. Below, valleys carved by the slow but relentless march of glaciers sprawl endlessly, their surfaces riddled with deep crevasses that seem to guard the secrets of the past. One of Cluain's greatest wonders is the St. Elias Mountains, Elias ice fields, a frozen expanse so vast and unspoiled that it feels like stepping onto another planet. Here, massive rivers of ice stretch as far as the eye can see, their surfaces a hypnotic swirl of brilliant whites and ghostly blues. Flying above them in a small plane, you witness a world untouched by time, a place where the whispers of the wind are the only sound for miles. But Cluain is not just a land of ice and stone. It is alive with creatures that have adapted to its harsh yet magnificent conditions. Golden eagles soar above the cliffs, scanning the tundra below for movement. Grizzly bears, their coats thick with the wilderness, wander the riverbanks in search of salmon. In the alpine meadows, wildflowers bloom in defiance of the cold, splashing the landscape with bursts of color as delicate as they are fleeting. For those willing to brave the elements, Cluain offers adventure like no other. Kayaking across Kathleen Lake, where the mountains reflect perfectly upon its mirror-like surface, is an experience of pure tranquility. Hiking the King's Throne Trail leads to a vantage point where the entire valley unfolds before you in a panorama so breathtaking it seems almost unreal. And as night falls, the skies come alive with an ethereal dance of light, the aurora borealis, weaving its luminous ribbons across the heavens in a spectacle that leaves even the most seasoned travelers in awe. Cluain is a place that humbles, a place where the raw power of nature reminds you of your own smallness. And yet, in that smallness, you find something vast, a connection to the wild, to the ancient, to the infinite beauty of the world itself. And now, to a land that seems sculpted by the gods in molten fire and cooled by ancient winds, the black sand beaches of Vik í Mýrdal in Iceland. The landscape here is contradiction made perfect, fierce, delicate, violent, still. You arrive on a road that seems to slice through the end of the world, long, straight, empty. On one side, the North Atlantic roars in eternal motion. On the other, jagged green cliffs rise like teeth from the sea. Between them, the beach stretches in an endless strip of obsidian sand, glittering with fine volcanic ash, framed by basalt columns that resemble organ pipes carved by a celestial hand. Waves slam the shore with primal force. They don't lap, they crash, howl, drag. The sneaker waves here are legendary, unpredictable, powerful, and merciless. Standing on the black sand, the wind whipping around you, the sound of the sea thundering in your chest, it's impossible not to feel small, insignificant, but somehow more alive than ever. A short hike brings you to Reynisfjara, where stone sea stacks, the Reynisdrangar, rise from the surf like petrified giants. Local legend says they were trolls, frozen at dawn as they tried to drag ships from the ocean. They stand motionless now, cloaked in mist and mythology, watching over a shore that feels older than time. Nearby, the Dirhole promontory juts into the sea, a wind-lashed cliff from which puffins dive and sea spray leaps into the sky. Look down, and the black beach curves endlessly beneath you. Look up, and clouds race overhead like ink across the parchment of the sky. This place is cinematic in the purest sense, not just beautiful, but breathtaking in a way that rearranges your soul. It doesn't feel like Earth. It feels like memory, like dream, like myth. Then, when you least expect it, the clouds part, the wind softens, and a shaft of light strikes the ocean in golden silence. You stand there, rooted in volcanic sand, and realize this is what it means to witness the sublime. Deep in the wilderness of the Philippines' northern Cordilleras lies a marvel few outside the country ever witness. Bouskolan, a village carved into the mountain's spine, shrouded in clouds and only reachable by foot. It is home to a legacy written not in ink, but skin. The last of the traditional Kalinga tattoo artists, Wangod, lives here. An elderly woman whose hands still tap out sacred patterns using a thorn, a bamboo stick, and centuries of ancestral memory. To reach Bouskolan, one must hike narrow paths clinging to cliff sides, cross bamboo bridges over roaring gorges, and pass rice terraces that cascade like green stairways into the sky. But the journey is part of the spell. Along the way, the landscape breathes with life. Carabaos cooling in the rivers, mountain breezes laced with pine and citrus, the rhythmic chopping of wood echoing through the canyons. In Bouskolan, tradition is not preserved, it thrives. Children run barefoot through fog-laced alleys, elders chew betel nut and recount legends of headhunters and mountain spirits. And tattooing is not a novelty, it is a rite of passage, a map of a soul worn proudly. Wangod herself, over 100 years old, is a living monument to a culture that refuses to vanish. Watching her work is like witnessing time flow backward. This is not just a remote village. It is a temple of heritage, a highland story etched into every stone, every smile, and every scar. Where the jungles of Central America brush against the mountains of Guatemala lies an ancient wonder hidden in the canopy, cinematography. A natural limestone bridge spans the Cahabon River, and atop it, a chain of turquoise pools descends like a staircase sculpted by gods. From the forest floor, the water glows with an otherworldly light, too blue to seem real, as it slips quietly over polished stone. Surrounding it, the rainforest seethes with life, howler monkeys groaning in the treetops, hummingbirds darting through shafts of light, and butterflies with wings like stained glass. To reach cinematography, you pass through winding mountain roads barely wide enough for one vehicle, through villages where Quechua Maya still speak their ancient tongue and sell handmade chocolate by the roadside. The limestone beneath the pools hides a roaring torrent that vanishes underground, carving caverns filled with echo and shadow. Some travelers explore them by candlelight, swimming through subterranean rivers, their flickering flames illuminating glistening rock formations. Above, the pools remain calm, serene, sacred, untouched. There's something transcendent about floating in those crystalline waters as mist gathers on the forest edge and parrots call from unseen perches. You forget time. You forget borders. You remember only that places like this still exist, sheltered from the noise of the world, waiting for those quiet enough to hear them. High in the mist-wrapped folds of Fujian's hills, where bamboo forests sway like the tides of a sleeping sea, you'll find strange, otherworldly circles dotting the landscape, earthen strongholds called Tulu. At first, they seem like ancient UFOs that have gently landed among the trees, their symmetry so precise, their presence so improbable. These massive round structures were built by the Hakka people centuries ago, as fortresses to protect generations of families from war and wilderness. Constructed entirely from rammed earth, stone, and timber, a single Tulu can house up to 800 people, an entire self-contained village, spiraling inward around a central courtyard, like the memory of a heartbeat. From the outside, a Tulu is formidable, thick earthen walls rising 4 or 5 stories high, windowless for defense, stoic against storm and time. But step through the wooden doors and a different world opens. Communal, warm, alive with clatter and conversation. Children chase each other along wooden balconies. Lanterns sway beneath tiled eaves. The scent of cooking wafts from open kitchens, mingling with incense curling from ancestral altars. Every Tulu has a soul. Some feel solemn and quiet, with moss-covered beams and creaking floorboards that remember every footstep. Others buzz with life, their inner rings crowded with drying herbs, red paper charms, and the laughter of grandparents telling the same stories to each new generation. These structures are living palimpsests, layers of architecture, spirit, and survival fused into circular harmony. They are not ruins. They are thriving homes, still alive with the rhythm of rural life. To walk into a Tulu is to step into the echo of centuries, where the world is both bigger and smaller all at once. It's a sanctuary not just of walls and roofs, but of lineage, language, and lives interwoven like the rings of a tree. Rising like a mirage from the sands of the Arabian Peninsula, the empty quarter, Rub al-Khali, is the largest continuous sand desert in the world. It is a place where the horizon stretches endlessly, where golden dunes tower like waves frozen in time, and where silence reigns supreme. The sheer scale of this desert is staggering. It spans across 4 countries, Saudi Arabia, Oman, the UAE, and Yemen, covering an expanse so vast that it seems almost infinite. Standing atop one of its colossal dunes at sunrise, the landscape transforms into an ocean of shifting colors. Shades of gold, orange, and crimson ripple across the sand as the first light of day awakens the desert. The wind moves softly, sculpting new patterns into the ever-changing dunes, ensuring that no 2 days ever look the same. Despite its harsh and unforgiving nature, the empty quarter holds secrets of life and history. Ancient trade routes once crisscrossed this expanse, caravans carrying precious incense and spices through the golden wilderness. Hidden beneath the sands lie lost cities, civilizations long vanished, but whose legends still whisper through the desert winds. For those who venture here, the experience is one of absolute solitude and awe. The nights bring a sky so clear and vast that the Milky Way stretches overhead in breathtaking clarity. Sitting by a flickering fire under the endless desert stars, one cannot help but feel a deep connection to something ancient and eternal. The empty quarter is not just a landscape, it is a place of raw beauty, where the earth tells stories written in sand. Where lush rainforest meets thundering cascades, Iguazu Falls is one of the most spectacular natural wonders on the planet. Straddling the border between Argentina and Brazil, this massive system of 275 waterfalls stretches nearly 2 miles, creating an overwhelming spectacle of mist, water, and sound. The sheer power of the falls is breathtaking, with millions of gallons plunging into the river below every second. The heart of Iguazu's fury is the Devil's Throat, a colossal U-shaped cascade where water crashes down a staggering 270 feet, sending mist soaring into the sky. Standing on the viewing platform at the edge of this roaring abyss, visitors are engulfed by the thunderous sound and the sensation of being surrounded by raw, untamed power. Rainbows form in the perpetual mist, adding an almost magical glow to the scene. Beyond the falls, the surrounding rainforest teems with life. Howler monkeys call from the treetops. Vibrant toucans flit between branches, and elusive jaguars prowl the dense undergrowth. The national parks on both the Argentine and Brazilian sides offer countless trails and walkways, allowing visitors to experience the falls from different angles, some offering panoramic views, others leading to intimate encounters where the water seems close enough to touch. A boat ride beneath the falls provides the ultimate thrill, where the churning water drenches adventurers as they are pulled into the heart of the cascade. Whether experienced from above, below, or within, Iguazu Falls is an overwhelming testament to the power and beauty of nature. One that leaves visitors spellbound long after they leave its misty embrace. On the opposite side of the world, hidden within the rugged landscapes of northern Scotland, lies a place shrouded in mystery and breathtaking beauty. The Isle of Skye, with its dramatic cliffs, wind-swept moors, and otherworldly rock formations, feels like a land sculpted by ancient gods. Here, mist clings to jagged peaks, rivers carve their way through emerald valleys, and the ever-changing sky casts shadows that bring the landscape to life. The Cuireadh, a vast landslip of surreal rock formations, is a place of legend. Walking among its towering spires and twisted ridges, it is easy to believe the old tales of giants and spirits that are said to inhabit these lands. The shifting clouds create a theatrical display of light and shadow, illuminating the rolling hills in hues of deep green and golden amber. Every step leads to a new vista, each more striking than the last. A painter's masterpiece crafted by nature itself. Not far from the Cuireadh, the fairy pools glisten like liquid sapphires beneath the jagged peaks of the Black Cuillin Mountains. These crystal-clear pools, fed by cascading waterfalls, seem almost too beautiful to be real. The water is so pure, it reveals every pebble beneath its surface, inviting the bravest to take a plunge into its icy embrace. According to folklore, the pools were once the bathing place of the Fae, and standing by their edge, with the mist curling through the valley, it is easy to understand why. One of the Isle of Skye's most hauntingly beautiful places is the Old Man of Storr, a colossal rock pinnacle that rises starkly from the landscape. Cloaked in mist and surrounded by rolling hills, it stands as a sentinel over the land, a relic of the ancient volcanic forces that shaped this island. The hike to the summit is steep, but the reward is immense. A sweeping view of the island, the sea stretching beyond like a vast silver tapestry. At the end of the day, Skye's coastal villages offer a warm respite from the wild elements. In the town of Portree, fishing boats bob in the harbor, their brightly colored hulls reflecting in the still waters. Cozy pubs serve up hearty meals of fresh seafood and traditional Scottish fare, the scent of peat fires filling the air. With a glass of whiskey in hand and the sound of a fiddle playing in the background, one can lose themselves in the timeless magic of the Isle of Skye. Yet even as night falls, the island's allure does not wane. The northern lights, flickering in hues of green and violet, occasionally grace the skies above Skye, turning the darkness into a celestial wonderland. In this place where myth and reality blur, where nature's raw beauty reigns supreme, the Isle of Skye leaves an imprint on the soul, an unspoken promise that its magic will never fade. In the green heart of Laos, a great river carves its way beneath limestone cliffs into the dark of a world untouched by time. This is Tam Kong Lo, a river cave so vast, so profound in its scope, it feels like entering the lungs of the earth itself. Board a long-tail boat at the cave's mouth, where the water turns from green to ink as it slips into shadow. The ceiling swallows the light, and your eyes adjust slowly as your guide steers by headlamp, a soft beam tracing the contours of ancient rock. The cave stretches for over 7 kilometers, a cathedral of stone and silence. Stalactites hang like the jaws of prehistoric creatures. The water glimmers beneath you, quiet and impossibly still. At times, the ceiling soars hundreds of feet above. At others, it presses low, and you duck instinctively, held in the breath of rock that's seen no sun for centuries. Midway through, you stop. The light goes out. And in that complete blackness, you hear everything. The drip of water from the ceiling, the gentle creak of the wooden boat, your own breath slowing. There's no sound like it in the world. It is not silence. It is presence. Eventually, you emerge on the other side into a valley ringed by karst cliffs, wild and green, where the river resumes its lazy path beneath open sky. It feels like a rebirth, like you have passed through something sacred, and now everything, the sun, the breeze, the sound of birds, is new again. Local villagers live in thatched stilt houses here, growing rice in plots carved from jungle. They speak softly, laugh easily, and move with a grace that can only come from being in harmony with the world around them. They know the cave not as a tourist site, but as a living spirit, a sacred corridor between darkness and light. Tam Kong Lo is not a place for casual travel. It is a place for transformation, for emerging quieter, smaller perhaps, but more awake. In the mountains of northern Vietnam, hidden among emerald rice terraces and cloaked in mist, the village of Pu Luong waits like a secret kept by the clouds. A place so peaceful that the rush of water over bamboo aqueducts and the rustling of palm leaves form the soundtrack of your journey. The air smells of lemongrass and earth, thick with the moisture of the mountains. Every turn in the trail reveals a new miracle, a hand-carved stilt house suspended above jungle valleys, or a sudden opening where golden fields stretch like a sea into the fading sun. Here, the Thai and Muong ethnic groups live with the land, not against it. They plant rice by hand and weave cloth with stories. Children chase chickens through terraced fields, and elders smoke pipes on porches overlooking the valley. There's a rhythm to Pu Luong, an unseen pulse that moves through the trees and into your bones. It's not just beautiful, it's alive. At sunrise, the valley glows. Mist clings to every hill like a blanket, and the light spills in through the canopy like warm milk. By noon, the sky is endless blue, and the waterfalls thunder like applause from the mountains themselves. In the evening, fireflies gather like scattered stars, and the scent of jasmine carries on the breeze. Pu Luong is not a place you find on a map. It's a feeling, an awakening, a reminder that wonder doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it just whispers. In the heart of Washington State's Cascade Mountains, concealed behind jagged ridgelines and demanding trails, lies a realm carved from ice, wind, and myth, the enchantments. This alpine sanctuary is not stumbled upon. It must be earned. The hike that leads to it is grueling, a gauntlet of switchbacks and stone, testing the resolve of every adventurer. But for those who push through, the reward is nothing short of transcendent. At the crest of Osgard Pass, breathless and dizzy with altitude, the world opens in spectacular silence. Jagged granite peaks tear at the sky like frozen fire, and a necklace of turquoise lakes glitters across the valley below. They are so pristine they seem unreal, each one fringed with snowfields even in summer, their waters holding the blue of forgotten dreams. Larches, golden and defiant, stand like sentinels across meadows brushed with wildflowers. The light here is different, sharper, cleaner, as though the sky has peeled back a layer to show you something older than time. At night, the wind slips over the ridges like a sigh, and stars multiply into thousands, mirrored perfectly in the still lakes. Mountain goats descend the slopes without a sound, and in those quiet hours, you realize this place is not just beautiful, it's sacred. The enchantments do not offer comfort, they offer revelation. And in their silence, you'll hear something forgotten in the modern world: awe. Amid the emerald cliffs and primordial stillness of Hunan lies a natural cathedral that defies both scale and expectation: Zhangjiajie's Tianmen Mountain. More than a summit, it is a throne of clouds, crowned by the fabled Heaven's Gate, a colossal arch punched into the mountain's face by time and elemental force. Approaching Tianmen is not a journey, it is a rite. The ascent begins with the world's longest cable car, lifting travelers from the bustle of Zhangjiajie City into the domain of clouds. As the city slips away, replaced by towering karst spires wrapped in mist, you enter another reality, one suspended between sky and stone. The mountain is a maze of wonders. There is the vertiginous glass skywalk, curling along sheer cliffs with nothing but air between your feet and a 1,000-meter drop. You feel each step in your chest. The wind brushes your skin like a ghost. And far below, the world curves away in silence. Then, there are the 999 steps, a staircase that snakes its way from the base to Heaven's Gate, winding like a dragon's spine, demanding a pilgrimage of will and breath. As you climb, the rock seems to rise with you. Mist coils through the trees. Birds drift below. And when you finally reach the arch itself, 94 meters tall and 60 meters wide, you do not look out. You look through into a space that feels like it leads to another realm. Legends say this is where heaven touches the earth, that those who pass beneath the gate are blessed with vision beyond this world. Whether you believe it or not, the air here feels thinner, sharper, touched by something ancient. And when the clouds part, revealing the full sweep of the Wuling Yuan landscape, those pillar-like mountains that inspired Pandora in Avatar, it is not beauty you feel, but reverence. Because here, standing in the doorway between worlds, you do not witness nature. You stand within its soul, remnants of an ancient lake that once covered the region. Isla Incahuasi, the most famous, offers breathtaking panoramic views over the endless salt flats. At night, the sky above Uyuni is a spectacle of stars. With no light pollution for miles, the Milky Way unfurls in all its brilliance, reflected perfectly in the shallow waters below. Time seems to stand still in this place, where land and sky merge into one, and the world feels infinite. It is a reminder that the most surreal wonders can be found in nature itself, crafted not by human hands but by time, wind, and water. Hidden deep within the heart of a dense forest in Croatia, Plitvice Lakes National Park is a realm of cascading waterfalls, crystal-clear lakes, and vibrant emerald greenery. It is a paradise of water and stone, where each step along its wooden walkways reveals another breathtaking scene. The park is home to 16 terraced lakes, all interconnected by a series of waterfalls that flow endlessly from one to the next. The water, rich in minerals, shimmers in hues of turquoise and sapphire, changing color depending on the sunlight and the minerals beneath the surface. Walking through the park feels like stepping into a dream. Gentle mist rises from the waterfalls, filling the air with a cool freshness as the sound of rushing water creates a constant, soothing symphony. The boardwalks lead through canopies of beech and fir trees, offering glimpses of fish swimming in the impossibly clear waters. Some of the waterfalls crash down in thunderous displays of power, while others trickle delicately over moss-covered rocks, forming intricate natural sculptures. One of the most stunning features of Plitvice is the Veliki Slap, or Great Waterfall, the highest in Croatia, standing at an impressive 255 feet. From the top, The panoramic view of the cascading lakes below is nothing short of breathtaking. Each turn in the path reveals a new wonder: hidden caves, glistening pools, and quiet corners of untouched beauty. Plitvice is more than just a national park. It is a living, breathing masterpiece of nature, a place where water and time have sculpted a landscape of unparalleled magic. Tucked away in the heart of the Netherlands, where vast forests blend seamlessly with rolling heathlands, lies the charming village of Ermelo. A place where time slows and nature's serenity embraces every visitor. Ermelo is an escape into a world of winding, cobbled streets, centuries-old farmhouses, and landscapes that shift with the seasons in a mesmerizing display of color and light. The moment you arrive, a sense of tranquility washes over you. Tall oak and pine trees stand like sentinels along the village's borders, their branches whispering secrets to the wind. The Veluwe, one of the Netherlands' most expansive natural reserves, extends beyond Ermelo, its dense woodlands and golden-hued moors, home to roaming deer, wild boar, and the occasional flutter of a rare bird's wings. Early mornings here are magical. Mist hovers just above the ground, the air is crisp, and the scent of damp earth and fresh leaves lingers. Exploring the village itself, you find a rich blend of history and warmth. Traditional Dutch houses with their thatched roofs and wooden shutters line the streets, many of them transformed into cozy cafes, boutiques, and artisanal shops. The village square, always buzzing with a sense of community, is where locals gather, sharing stories over steaming cups of coffee. At the heart of this hospitality is De Dorpskamer, a restaurant that feels like the soul of Ermelo. Stepping inside, you're welcomed by the inviting glow of candlelight, the rustic charm of wooden beams, and the comforting aroma of slow-cooked Dutch delicacies. The atmosphere is both elegant and homey, a place where travelers and locals alike come together to savor the best of regional cuisine. Beyond the village, Ermelo's surroundings invite exploration. Cycling paths weave through the forests, leading to hidden lakes and open meadows where highland cattle graze lazily under the sun. The ancient ruins of Staverden Castle, with its whitewashed walls and wandering peacocks, offer a glimpse into a time of Dutch nobility and whispered legends. As the day winds to a close, the setting sun bathes the heathlands in a golden glow, a reminder of the quiet, unspoiled beauty that makes this corner of the Netherlands so unforgettable. Somewhere along the gilded curve of the French Riviera, where the Mediterranean laps gently against stone harbors and yachts bob like glistening sculptures, there exists a country so compact it seems drawn with a jeweler's hand. Monaco, a sovereign whisper of a nation nestled between sea and cliff, between decadence and stillness, between speed and silence. Step off the train in Monte Carlo, and the city unveils itself like a luxury timepiece, precise, brilliant, impossibly intricate. Sunlight reflects off marble facades, and polished Bentleys glide down boulevards lined with manicured palms. It is a city engineered to impress, but beneath the glamour, Monaco breathes with a different kind of beauty, a slower pulse, a quieter seduction. The sea is everywhere. Azure, glassy, it stretches from the port to the horizon in a silk sheet gradient of color. From the Prince's Palace perched atop the Rocher, the entire country unfurls at your feet, steep streets tumbling toward the harbor, gardens carved into cliffside, church towers rising like whispered secrets above red-tiled roofs. Watch the sun dip into the sea from the Jardin Exotique, where rare succulents cling to limestone, and the world smells of salt, heat, and blooming cactus. But night in Monaco is where the magic slips its gloves off. The lights of Monte Carlo ignite like stars reborn, golden, electric, infinite. The casino stands at the center, its Belle Époque elegance practically glowing, where fortunes shift in silence beneath chandeliers. Nearby, the open-air Opera de Monte Carlo echoes with arias that drift out over the terraces and into the soft sea air. And then, in moments of stillness, early morning walks along the harbor, the hush of an empty garden, you realize that this place, so famed for spectacle, also holds space for something subtler. Reflection, intimacy, a kind of reverence for beauty meticulously maintained. In the volcanic highlands of Rwanda, cloaked in mist and humming with life, lies the emerald sanctuary of Nyungwe Forest. This is one of Africa's oldest rainforests, untouched for millennia, unbowed by time. A place where biodiversity explodes with every breath. Colobus monkeys leap across the canopy in a blur of black and white, and rare orchids bloom in the shadows like secrets unfolding. The forest breathes around you, a rhythmic pulse of rainfall, birdsong, and distant thunder. Trails curl through thick underbrush, leading to swinging canopy bridges that stretch high above the trees. From these airy walkways, you see the forest in layers, moss-draped trunks below, flashes of butterfly wings mid-level, and birds with iridescent feathers darting between the leaves. The air is thick with life, warm and fragrant with damp earth and distant blooms. But Nyungwe's true magic lies in its silence, the kind that deepens your breath and stretches your senses. You walk softer, you listen closer, you notice more. In a world growing louder by the hour, this forest speaks in whispers, reminding you how to hear again. On the far edge of the Azores archipelago, in the shadow of the Atlantic's endless swell, the island of Flores emerges like a forgotten Eden. Here, cliffs fall away into sapphire depths. Waterfalls spill from sky to sea in impossible plunges, and crater lakes shimmer like the eyes of ancient gods gazing skyward. Flores is green in a way the word cannot contain, lush, feral, eternal. There are no mega resorts here, no sprawling developments, just quiet villages clinging to the hillsides, their red-tiled roofs barely interrupting the waves of wild hydrangeas. Cobbled streets curve like veins through the island, connecting pastures to ports, forests to fields. Cows graze freely. The sea crashes endlessly. Time slows, then forgets to move at all. Drive inland, and the terrain changes with every bend. Dense forests give way to mossy plateaus, and volcanic craters cradle lakes so still they reflect not just the clouds, but your very soul. At Poço da Ribeira do Ferreiro, dozens of waterfalls stream down a jungle-clad cliff in perfect symmetry, feeding a pond so serene it seems carved from a dream. To walk the trails of Flores is to surrender to the earth's wildest beauty. You don't need a guide. You don't need a plan. You just need to follow the sound of water, and it will lead you home. Tucked between the folds of Yunnan's highland tapestry, where clouds weave through terraces of jade and the wind carries the distant trill of flutes, lies a village where color sings and time hesitates, Dongchuan Redland. This is not a hidden city or an ancient ruin, but a living canvas, nature's most defiant burst of pigment splashed across the earth. At first glance, it almost seems unreal. The soil glows with a burnished crimson hue, the result of iron-rich minerals oxidized by centuries of sun and rain. Winding through the slopes are terraces of green barley, golden buckwheat and cotton-white potatoes, arranged in fluid waves that rise and fall like brushstrokes. The hills appear to burn with color: reds, greens, golds, purples, each hue shifting with the hour. In the early morning, a whisper of mist curls through the valley, softening the hills into watercolor. At midday, the sun sharpens every ridge and furrow, igniting the reds into flame. And as dusk deepens, the earth blushes in twilight, glowing from within as though lit by memory. Villagers here tend their fields as if composing music. Oxen pull simple plows through scarlet soil. Children chase kites across stepped hillsides, and the elderly sit beneath thatched awnings, sipping tea and watching the sky as if they expect it to tell them something. There's no fanfare, no great monuments, just the raw beauty of land in conversation with light. The landscape shifts so dramatically with season and sun that it never offers the same view twice. It demands that you stop, breathe, and really see. In this kaleidoscope of dirt and harvest, where farmers wake with the mist and sleep beneath galaxies undimmed by city light, you discover something essential. Wonder doesn't need grandeur. Sometimes it's simply a hillside that burns with color, asking nothing more than to be seen. A shimmering mirage of pink and orange sands stretches endlessly under the desert sun, forming one of the most mesmerizing landscapes on Earth, the Wadi Rum in Jordan. Also known as the Valley of the Moon, this vast expanse of red dunes and towering sandstone cliffs has an ethereal, almost Martian quality that has captivated explorers for centuries. The sheer rock faces, weathered by millennia of wind and sand, rise like ancient fortresses against the horizon, etched with petroglyphs that tell stories of civilizations long past. Traversing the undulating dunes by camel, travelers can feel the vastness of the landscape, a place where silence reigns, broken only by the occasional gust of wind. Jeep tours offer a more adrenaline-fueled experience, speeding through the desert's hidden valleys and past colossal rock formations, some of which resemble natural sculptures shaped by time itself. As the sun dips lower in the sky, the desert transforms, bathed in hues of fiery red and deep purple, casting shadows that make the towering cliffs seem even more imposing. At night, Wadi Rum becomes a celestial wonder. With little light pollution, the sky erupts into a spectacle of stars, a cosmic dome that stretches infinitely above. Bedouin camps provide an opportunity to experience the region's ancient traditions, with the scent of spiced tea filling the air and the sound of traditional music echoing across the sands. Here, beneath a canopy of stars, one can truly appreciate the untamed beauty of Wadi Rum, a place where the earth and sky meet in perfect harmony. A realm of mist-shrouded peaks and jade-green rivers, the Huangshan Mountains in China seem to belong to the world of legends. Rising sharply from the valley floor, these ancient granite peaks have inspired poets, artists, and philosophers for centuries, their silhouette often depicted in traditional Chinese paintings. Winding stone paths lead travelers through dense pine forests and along precarious ridges, revealing vistas that shift with the changing weather. As dawn breaks, the mountains become a scene of unparalleled beauty. A sea of clouds drapes over the valleys, leaving only the highest peaks exposed, floating like islands above an ethereal white ocean. The famous welcoming pine, a centuries-old tree with gnarled branches reaching toward the sky, stands as a silent guardian of this dreamlike landscape. Each turn along the pathways reveals new wonders: narrow rock formations, deep ravines, and hidden hot springs that steam gently in the cool mountain air. One of the most breathtaking experiences in Huangshan is reaching the summit just as the sun rises. The golden light filters through the mist, illuminating the jagged peaks with a soft, otherworldly glow. It is a moment of pure serenity, a reminder of nature's quiet power. Cable cars glide above the cliffs, offering a bird's-eye view of the dramatic terrain, while those who choose to hike the trails are rewarded with an intimate journey through one of China's most awe-inspiring landscapes. Nestled along the rugged coastline of Indonesia's Flores Island lies Labuan Bajo, a once sleepy fishing village that has transformed into a gateway to some of the world's most mesmerizing natural wonders. With its pristine waters, vibrant marine life, and breathtaking landscapes, Labuan Bajo beckons travelers seeking both adventure and tranquility. As dawn breaks, the harbor of Labuan Bajo comes alive with a mosaic of colors. Traditional Finisi boats, their wooden sails catching the first light, prepare to embark on voyages across the Flores Sea. The scent of salt water mingles with the aroma of freshly brewed Indonesian coffee from nearby cafes, creating an invigorating start to the day. The town itself is a blend of old-world charm and burgeoning modernity. Narrow streets are lined with markets where locals sell an array of goods, from vibrant textiles to exotic fruits. Artisans craft intricate ikat weavings, each pattern telling a story passed down through generations. The warm smiles of the locals invite you to explore deeper into their culture and traditions. A short boat ride from Labuan Bajo transports you to the Komodo National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and home to the legendary Komodo dragons. Walking amidst these prehistoric creatures in their natural habitat is both humbling and exhilarating, a stark reminder of the planet's ancient past. The park's islands, with their savanna-like landscapes and pink sand beaches, offer vistas that seem almost otherworldly. Beneath the crystalline waters surrounding Labuan Bajo lies a vibrant underwater paradise. Divers and snorkelers are treated to kaleidoscopic coral reefs teeming with marine life, from graceful manta rays to schools of technicolor fish. Each dive reveals a new facet of this underwater wonderland, making it a haven for marine enthusiasts. For those seeking panoramic views, a hike up to Sylvia Hill provides a sweeping vista of the town, the harbor, and the myriad islands dotting the horizon. As the sun sets, the sky transforms into a canvas of oranges and purples, casting a golden glow over the landscape and leaving onlookers in silent awe. Culinary delights abound in Labuan Bajo. Seaside eateries offer the day's freshest catch, grilled to perfection and seasoned with local spices. Savoring a meal of grilled snapper or spicy sambal prawns, accompanied by the gentle lapping of waves and a balmy sea breeze, creates an unforgettable dining experience. Accommodations range from rustic beachfront bungalows to luxurious resorts, each offering a unique perspective of the surrounding beauty. Waking up to the sound of waves and the sight of the sun rising over the archipelago instills a sense of peace and rejuvenation. And then, there is the enchanted river of Hinatuan, a radiant, impossibly blue stream flowing through the jungles of Mindanao in the Philippines. But calling it a river is like calling a cathedral a house. This is water as spellwork, as dream. It emerges from an underground spring with a color so intense, so sapphire, that legends claim it was dyed by the tears of mythical beings. As you approach the mouth of the river, the jungle hushes. Light filters through the canopy in fractured beams, dappling the ground and illuminating the water as if from within. There is a place near the riverbank where the water deepens suddenly into an unfathomable chasm. Locals say it is bottomless. Divers, even with the most advanced equipment, have never touched its end. Its depth is unknowable, its beauty uncontainable. And each day, precisely at noon, the river is closed to swimmers as fish are fed in a ritual known as the fish feeding ceremony. The fish rise from the abyss like spirits from another world, sleek and shimmering beneath the glass-clear surface. You do not swim in the enchanted river. You float. The cool water wraps around you like silk, weightless and gentle. Looking down into its depths, you see your own reflection mingled with shadows of another realm. It is not a place you visit. It is a place you remember, as though it's always lived in your dreams. Surrounding the river, the jungle is alive in every direction. Parrots flash like painted brushstrokes across the sky, while the wind rustles bamboo leaves in a language only the forest knows. The scent of wet earth and blooming orchids hangs heavy in the air. Time slows here, dissolves, until only your heartbeat and the whispering water remain. In this pocket of the world, the line between the natural and the supernatural blurs, and for a brief moment, you become part of something much older than yourself. In a narrow gorge cut deep into the limestone mountains of southern Albania lies a secret path carved by a whispering river. It's called the Lengarica Canyon, and if ever there was a hidden paradise tucked beneath the folds of Europe, this is it. Towering cliffs flank the gorge, their faces streaked with mineral hues, ochre, copper, ivory, like brushstrokes on cathedral walls. The river, shallow and crystalline, winds its way through pebbled beds and stone arches, cutting a ribbon of silver through a landscape that feels untouched by time. As you wander along its winding route, the canyon's secrets reveal themselves slowly. Natural thermal springs bubbling at your feet, long-forgotten stone bridges arching over the flow, and secluded pools shaded by olive and fig trees. In spring, the canyon is blanketed with wildflowers. In summer, it hums with dragonflies. And in winter, a frosty hush settles over its curves like a lullaby whispered by the earth itself. Above the canyon rests the village of Benja, its crumbling stone houses and terracotta roofs visible like forgotten memories perched on the hillsides. Time here runs slower, measured not in minutes, but in the rhythm of goats' bells and the rising steam of a wood fire meal. The Lengarica Canyon isn't just a natural marvel. It's a refuge, a sanctuary, a hidden realm where the world softens and the soul expands. On the windswept plains of Mongolia, where the sky stretches in every direction and the land rolls like waves frozen in stone, there lies a cavern few have ever seen. Ikhnartin Chulu, more commonly called Ikhnart, is a granite outcrop in the middle of the Gobi Steppe. It is a place where the horizon bleeds into sky and silence becomes a tangible force. But hidden within its folds are labyrinthine rock formations and canyons so narrow and deep they vanish into shadow even under the midday sun. Here, wild Argali sheep leap across boulders like ancient spirits, and bearded vultures spiral overhead in solemn circles. The air smells of lichen and dust, and the rocks themselves seem to hum with age. Petroglyphs, etched by Bronze Age hands, dot the granite walls, their meanings lost, but their presence undeniable. At dusk, golden light catches on the stone, setting it ablaze in hues of fire and copper, while the wind carries the scent of distant rain. There are no roads here, no signs, just the guidance of nomadic herders, their yurts barely visible in the vastness. They speak of hidden springs and sacred stones, of places where the earth listens. Ikhnart is one of them. To walk here is to step back into the raw breath of the world, where history and myth blend into something deeper than either. It is solitude redefined, vastness embodied. Carved into the blue heart of the South China Sea, where waves shimmer like polished jade and limestone islands rise like the backs of sleeping dragons, lies a reef as rare as it is radiant, the Xuande archipelago of the Paracel Islands. Few have walked its shores, fewer still have plunged beneath its surface, but those who do describe it as swimming through a dream stitched together by coral and sunlight. The waters here are impossibly clear, so transparent that the seafloor appears to float just beneath your fingertips. Coral reefs fan outward like lace, teeming with life in every shape and color. Electric blues pulse through schools of tangs. Gliding rays ripple across sandy bottoms like shadows in motion. And among the coral bloom iridescent clams and the cautious flickers of clownfish. Above the water, the islands themselves are wild and nearly untouched, scrubby with mangroves, ringed by glimmering beaches, home to seabirds that wheel and call in the blinding sun. Ancient shipwrecks sleep beneath the waves, their skeletons half consumed by coral, their secrets cradled in the silence of the deep. This archipelago is protected, disputed, remote. Its isolation has kept it pristine, a pocket of oceanic magic frozen in its own mythos. There are whispers of lost pirate treasure here, and sightings of bioluminescent algae that turn the waves into starlight each night. But it is the reef that entrances. There's no sound but the tickle of your own breath in the water. No edge to the color, no ending to the patterns. Here, nature paints not in broad strokes, but in intimate detail. In the flicker of a sea cucumber, in the blink of a watchful octopus, in the soft sway of underwater anemones that seem to dance just for you. It is a place you cannot photograph, only experience. And even then, it will feel like a memory borrowed from another world. A vast, unspoiled wilderness where wildlife roams free and rivers carve through ancient forests. Canada's Banff National Park is a sanctuary of natural beauty, encompassing towering mountains, turquoise glacial lakes, and sweeping valleys. This breathtaking expanse in the heart of the Canadian Rockies feels like a dream brought to life. Lake Louise, often called the Jewel of the Rockies, is perhaps the most famous sight in the park. Its waters shimmer in brilliant shades of emerald and blue, a result of finely ground rock particles carried down by melting glaciers. The lake is framed by soaring peaks, their rugged faces mirrored perfectly in the glassy surface. In summer, kayakers drift across the water, taking in the grandeur of the surrounding mountains, while in winter, the frozen lake transforms into a skating paradise, reflecting the crisp alpine sky. Not far from Lake Louise, Moraine Lake offers an equally mesmerizing sight. Nestled in the Valley of the 10 Peaks, its surreal blue waters seem almost otherworldly. A short hike leads to the famous rock pile, a vantage point that offers one of the most iconic views in the world. Moraine Lake's vibrant waters set against jagged, snow-capped summits. Beyond the lakes, Banff's vast network of hiking trails leads adventurers through untouched landscapes. Meadows bursting with wildflowers, deep canyons where waterfalls crash into the rocks below, and high-altitude trails that reveal sweeping vistas of the surrounding peaks. Wildlife thrives in this rugged paradise. Elk, moose, and even grizzly bears roam freely, adding to the sense that this is a land ruled by nature. As the sun sets behind the mountains, the sky blazes in hues of pink and gold, casting a final glow over a place that feels truly wild and free. Deep in the karst mountains of Laos lies a world unseen, a subterranean kingdom of colossal caverns and winding underground rivers. Far from the Arctic's frozen embrace, in the heart of Africa, a hidden paradise blooms in the misty highlands of Rwanda. The emerald slopes of the volcano's national park rise in gentle folds, their peaks shrouded in veils of mist that lend an air of mystery to the land. This is a realm of legends, a sanctuary where one of the planet's most extraordinary creatures roams, the endangered mountain gorilla. Venturing into the depths of the rainforest, the air grows thick with the scent of damp earth and moss. Sunlight filters through the dense canopy, casting golden beams upon a world untouched by time. The silence is punctuated only by the distant calls of birds and the rustle of leaves as unseen creatures move through the undergrowth. And then, suddenly, you see them. A silverback gorilla, immense and powerful, sits amidst the foliage, his dark eyes radiating an intelligence that seems almost human. Nearby, juveniles tumble and play, their joyful antics a reminder of the deep bonds that define these remarkable creatures. In this moment, all barriers between species dissolve. You are no longer just a traveler. You are a guest in their world, a silent observer of a life that has existed for millennia. Beyond the gorillas, Volcanoes National Park offers landscapes that seem lifted from a dream. Volcanic peaks rise against the sky, their slopes cloaked in a patchwork of lush forest and golden savanna. Hidden crater lakes, their surfaces untouched by ripples, reflect the heavens in a mirror of tranquility. And as you ascend the trails that wind through this untamed paradise, every step reveals a new wonder. Waterfalls tumbling from unseen heights, orchids blooming in delicate defiance, and the occasional glimpse of golden monkeys leaping effortlessly from branch to branch. As dusk settles over the park, the air takes on a cool crispness, and the sky erupts in a display of stars so brilliant they seem almost within reach. Sitting by a fire in a rustic lodge, the distant sounds of the jungle provide a lullaby unlike any other, a reminder that in this place, the wild and the wondrous still reign. Now travel across the world to Slovenia, where the quiet brilliance of Lake Bohinj awaits, cradled in the Julian Alps like a secret the mountains have chosen to keep. Unlike its more famous cousin, Lake Bled, Bohinj doesn't ask for your attention. It simply exists, waiting to be discovered by those willing to go a little further, to look a little deeper. The lake is glacial, and it shows. Its water, clear as crystal, reflects the sky so precisely that you forget where the lake ends and the heavens begin. Canoes glide silently across the surface, their paddles leaving barely a ripple. The surrounding forests, thick and lush, drop steeply into the lake's edge, as if the trees themselves are peering in. But it's not just the visuals, it's the feel of it, the stillness, the way the air carries the scent of moss and river stones. In the early hours of morning, mists curl off the lake like fingers, soft and pale, and the world becomes a watercolor painting. Local shepherds guide their flocks along ancient trails, and the distant chime of cowbells floats across the water, a sound unchanged for centuries. High above the lake, the Vogel cable car lifts you gently into the clouds, revealing a panorama so vast and untouched, it steals your breath. In spring, wildflowers spill across the alpine meadows like confetti, while in winter, the same slopes become a quiet haven for skiers gliding through powdered snow. Every season here has its voice, its color, its song. Yet perhaps the most spellbinding part of Lake Bohinj is the feeling you carry away with you, that you've touched something pure, that you found a piece of the world still ruled by beauty instead of spectacle. And deep within this poetic silence, you begin to understand. Places like these aren't made just for sightseeing. They're made to be felt, to be remembered, and to remind us that wonder still exists. You just have to know where to look. In a forgotten corner of northern Laos, the Nong Khiao Valley snakes through limestone cliffs and jungle peaks like a dream made real. Mist clings to the river each morning, wrapping the mountains in mystery as longboats slide over the glassy surface of the Namu River. This is not Luang Prabang's polished charm or Vang Vieng's chaos. This is where the earth still breathes in silence, and each bend of the river reveals a new secret. The cliffs here rise like dragon spines, vertical and moss-laced, and hidden caves open like mouths to ancient echoes. Villages rest on the riverbanks with palm-thatched rooftops and temple bells that chime in the wind. The people move slowly, deliberately, as if each moment deserves to be noticed. Hikers who climb the steep trails that rise above the village are gifted with views that defy language. Ridges and valleys unfurling like layers of silk beneath a sky pierced by light. Nong Khiao is not loud in its majesty. It whispers, a bowl of noodle soup steaming in the mountain chill, a single candle flickering in a bamboo hut, the beat of a drum from a distant festival floating over the water. This is a place where you're not shown beauty, you're immersed in it, and it changes you. Where the Atlantic crashes with untamed force against the northwestern coast of Ireland, there lies a place cloaked in mist and forgotten by time. The Slieve League cliffs rise nearly 2,000 feet above the roaring sea, taller than the famed cliffs of Moher, but without their crowds, their fences, or their fame. Here, only the wind and your breath keep you company as you stand at the edge of the world. Blanketed in wild grasses and wildflowers, the cliffs undulate toward the horizon, their faces streaked with copper and coal, their bases vanishing into the crashing foam far below. The path along the ridge is narrow and raw, a thread of earth balanced between sky and sea. One misstep, and the abyss awaits. But for those who dare, the view is a baptism in beauty. On clear days, you can see as far as Sligo and the distant Isles of Scotland. On others, the fog swallows the world whole, leaving only the sound of your heartbeat and the cry of gulls wheeling in the gray. This is a land of myth, of selkies and saints, of Celtic gods whispered about in the dark. Local fishermen still bless their boats with age-old rituals, and stone ruins dot the hills like ancient scars. The Slieve League cliffs aren't just Ireland's best-kept secret. They are Ireland at its most primal, where the land meets the spirit in a cathedral of wind and stone. In the northeast wilderness of Heilongjiang, where winter bites with diamond teeth and the landscape wears a robe of white and silence, there is a village that burns not with cold, but with enchantment. Snowtown, China's very own fairy tale come to life, glows each evening like a lantern in the frost. This hidden hamlet, tucked into the mountains near the Russian border, becomes a different world when snow falls. Rooftops grow soft and round under thick white blankets, like whipped cream frozen in place. Lanterns flicker along snowy streets, casting ruby halos into the crystalline air. The light refracts through ice, creating a world that feels painted in moonlight. In Snowtown, nothing hurries. The snow falls in hushed cascades, softening every sound, until even voices become whispers. Wooden cabins puff smoke into the sky like dreams. Children in red scarves pull sleds past trees that shimmer with frost. And at night, the aurora sometimes dances, painting greens and purples across a sky so still it feels like glass. Yet this is not just a postcard scene. The people here are warm and more than spirit. Doors open to reveal glowing hearths and tables piled high with hot pot and dumplings. Locals share stories of tiger tracks in the snow, of winters past when wolves howled in the distance, of how this village began as a logging outpost and bloomed into something miraculous. There is a reverence for the cold here, not just survival, but celebration. Ice sculptures line the pathways. Steam rises from public baths carved into stone. Laughter drifts through the chill like music. And even the wind feels like it has learned to hum along. Snowtown is not a place you visit. It is a place you remember, dream of, and maybe, if you're lucky, return to, like a story that knows just when to begin again. Rising above the vast Namib Desert, the towering red dunes of Sossusvlei are an awe-inspiring spectacle that defies imagination. These dunes, some of the highest in the world, stand like colossal waves frozen in time, their rippling forms sculpted by the wind over thousands of years. The most famous among them, Dune 45, rises to an astonishing 560 feet, its crest offering an unparalleled view over the endless desert expanse. Climbing the dunes at sunrise is an experience like no other. The soft golden light transforms the landscape, casting long shadows and setting the sand ablaze in deep shades of red and orange. Each step sinks into the soft grains, making the ascent slow and meditative. But the reward is worth every effort. From the summit, the view stretches endlessly, a sea of dunes rolling toward the horizon under an impossibly blue sky. At the heart of Sossusvlei lies a place of haunting beauty. Deadvlei, a surreal white clay pan where ancient dead camel thorn trees stand like skeletal sentinels against the backdrop of fiery dunes. Their twisted, blackened forms have stood untouched for centuries, preserved by the arid air, creating one of the most striking landscapes on Earth. Despite its harshness, the desert teems with life. Oryx, with their elegant curved horns, roam the dunes, their pale coats blending seamlessly with the sands. Small desert creatures, adapted to the extreme conditions, leave delicate trails in the sand, evidence of life in a place that seems so barren. As night falls, the desert sky erupts into a celestial masterpiece. With no artificial light for miles, the stars blaze in unimaginable brilliance, their glow mirrored by the endless sands below. In this place of quiet grandeur, time seems to pause, and the vastness of the world becomes almost tangible. In the heart of Croatia lies a village that seems to have emerged from the pages of a fairy tale. Rastok, often referred to as the Mini Plitvice, is a hidden gem where nature and history intertwine seamlessly. Built upon a network of 23 cascading waterfalls, this enchanting village offers a serene escape from the bustle of modern life. As you approach Rastok, the gentle roar of water guides your senses to a landscape where turquoise streams weave through lush greenery. Traditional wooden mills, some dating back to the 17th century, stand gracefully over the flowing waters, their wheels turning rhythmically as they have for centuries. These mills, once vital for grinding grains, now serve as charming reminders of a bygone era, with some transformed into quaint guest houses and local eateries. Strolling through the village, you'll find pathways that meander alongside the waterfalls, offering intimate views of the crystal-clear waters as they tumble over limestone cliffs. The air is filled with the soothing sounds of nature, a symphony of cascading water, rustling leaves, and melodious bird songs. Stone bridges arch gracefully over the streams, connecting pockets of land adorned with vibrant wildflowers. The villagers of Rastok have preserved their cultural heritage with pride. Many homes showcase traditional Croatian architecture, with whitewashed walls and red-tiled roofs, often adorned with blooming flower boxes. Local artisans display handcrafted souvenirs, from intricate lacework to wooden carvings, each piece telling a story of the region's rich history. Culinary delights await at every corner. Local taverns, known as konobas, offer authentic Croatian dishes made from fresh, locally sourced ingredients. Savoring a plate of roasted lamb or freshly caught trout, accompanied by a glass of regional wine, becomes an experience to cherish as you dine overlooking the serene waterways. For those seeking adventure, Rastok serves as a gateway to the renowned Plitvice Lakes National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site famed for its terraced lakes and waterfalls. However, many find that the tranquil beauty of Rastok itself provides ample inspiration for exploration, be it through kayaking along the gentle rivers or hiking the verdant trails that surround the village. As evening descends, the village takes on a magical aura. Soft lights illuminate the waterfalls, casting shimmering reflections on the water's surface. The scent of wood smoke mingles with the fresh evening air, and the distant strumming of a tamburica, a traditional Croatian string instrument, can occasionally be heard, adding to the village's enchanting ambiance. Now cross the continent and find yourself in the remote, dreamlike expanse of the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia's Far East. Here, the earth breathes fire. In the Valley of Geysers, one of the largest geyser fields in the world, steam rises from the ground in swirling pillars, curling around moss-draped cliffs and emerald ravines. This is a place where nature is not gentle. It is fierce, alive, volcanic. Mud pots bubble like cauldrons. Jets of scalding water erupt skyward without warning. The earth groans and exhales, and it feels less like a landscape and more like a living, breathing being. Access to Kamchatka is not easy. Most arrive by helicopter, flying over ice-cloaked peaks and lava-stained valleys to land on the edge of another planet. Brown bears roam the forests in great numbers, fishing in rivers heavy with salmon. Volcanic cones dominate the skyline. More than 160 volcanoes, 29 of them still active. And in their shadows, wildflowers bloom defiantly, drenching the tundra in color when summer breaks the long winter's hold. A hike across Kamchatka is a lesson in surrender. Trails are unpredictable. Conditions change quickly, but in return, you get raw, unfiltered wonder. Bathing in a natural hot spring while snowflakes melt on your eyelashes. Watching a geyser erupt against a wall of golden autumn birch. Hearing nothing for hours but the crunch of your own footsteps and the distant call of an eagle. This is not a destination for convenience. It is for awe. Tucked away in the verdant folds of Japan's Kii Peninsula lies a place where legend still lingers in the moss and fog. Nachi no Taki, a waterfall so gracefully veiled by forest, it feels conjured. Most travelers flock to Kyoto or Tokyo, but those who wander further find a path once walked by emperors and monks, the Kumano-Kodo pilgrimage route. Through cedar forests older than memory, across time-worn stone steps slick with dew, the path finally reveals a vision so perfect it feels painted. A 133-meter ribbon of water, cascading from the heavens beside the blood-red, three-storied Sagantoji Pagoda. The air hums with spiritual charge. The scent of wet wood and incense fills your lungs. The roar of the waterfall is steady but soft, more lullaby than thunder. This is not nature in chaos. It is nature in prayer. For over 1,000 years, pilgrims have bathed in these waters and bowed at this spot, believing the cascade to be the earthly embodiment of purity. Even now, the temple bell echoes across the valley, and paper wishes tied to trees flutter like silent songs. You don't just visit Nachi no Taki, you bow to it. You linger in its presence as you would in a shrine. And when you leave, you carry something more than memory. You carry stillness. High above the clouds, where Peru's Andes stretch toward the sky in jagged majesty, the forgotten citadel of Choquequirao sleeps in solitude. Often called the sister of Machu Picchu, it is its quieter, more elusive twin, just as powerful, but shielded by days of hiking, sheer cliffs, and an unforgiving sun. Few make the journey. Fewer still stand in its shadow. But those who do are forever changed. The stone terraces spill down the mountainside like amphitheaters built for gods. Llamas graze between them, oblivious to the awe they stir. Mist clings to the ramparts in the morning, lifting slowly to reveal a complex more vast than Machu Picchu, but untouched by tourism. No crowds, no noise. Just the sound of wind brushing against stone that has stood for centuries. Built by the Inca, reclaimed by the jungle, and now slowly being revealed again. Choquequirao feels like a secret being whispered back into the world. You walk its pathways with reverence, touching stones placed with impossible precision, and feel the weight of history pressed gently against your chest. When night falls and stars flood the sky, there's only one word that fits: sacred. In the humid cradle of Guizhou province, shrouded by whispering bamboo and hills that undulate like the backs of sleeping dragons, lies a village born not of wood or stone, but of a waterfall. Genuine ancient town is hidden deep in a valley, cradled between green ridges, where the Wuyang River glides like a ribbon of jade beneath arched bridges and timeless pagodas. Time does not simply pass here, it breathes. As you wander the narrow cobblestone lanes, you'll hear the soft chant of an unseen monk carried on the wind, mingling with the rustle of wind chimes and the splash of fish leaping from jade-green waters. Genuine's story is carved into the rock that flanks it, in the cliffside caves of Qinglongdong. Here, shrines and temples emerge from the stone as though grown by the earth itself. Taoist, Buddhist, and Confucian sanctuaries harmoniously coexisting in surreal symmetry. The temples are alive with color and incense. Golden dragons curl around crimson beams, their eyes fixed eternally on the mountains beyond. At dusk, lanterns bloom like fireflies across the water's edge, casting shimmering red and gold into the river that reflects a dreamscape no camera could ever fully capture. Boats glide silently past, their silhouettes framed by bridges that arch like the spines of mythical beasts. But the true magic of Genuine is not in its architecture or its traditions. It is in its spirit. This is a place where locals leave offerings for river spirits and pause to bow at shrines nestled between tea shops. Where the line between folklore and fact is so blurred, even the skeptical might begin to wonder whether the mist rising from the Wuyang is merely vapor or something more ancient, more watching. Here, the air itself feels alive, thick with stories untold. It doesn't ask you to believe, only to listen. And if you do, if you truly stop and listen, you might just hear the village whisper its secrets back. Amid the lush jungles of Sri Lanka, an ancient rock fortress rises from the earth, a monolithic relic of a bygone era. Sigiriya, also known as Lion Rock, is one of the world's most astonishing archaeological sites. A towering 660-foot rock formation that once housed an entire kingdom. With its sheer cliffs and flat summit, it seems almost otherworldly, a fortress carved from stone that defies gravity itself. Climbing the ancient stone steps that wind their way up the rock, Visitors pass through a gateway once flanked by an enormous lion's head. Only its massive stone paws remain today. Along the way, the walls reveal stunning frescoes, vibrant paintings of celestial maidens that have survived for over 1,000 years. The mirror wall, once so polished that the king could see his reflection, still bears ancient inscriptions left by visitors from centuries past. At the summit, the ruins of a grand palace await. Here, the king once walked through elegant gardens and gazed out over the endless green canopy of the jungle. From this height, the view is staggering, a vast stretch of wilderness, untouched and thriving. The remnants of water gardens, terraces, and pools hint at the ingenuity of the civilization that once flourished here. Sigiriya is more than just a fortress. It is a story etched into the rock itself, a monument to a lost kingdom that still whispers its secrets through the wind. An alien landscape of shimmering white, the Uyuni salt flats of Bolivia stretch endlessly in every direction, creating an optical illusion that defies logic. After a rainfall, the surface transforms into the world's largest natural mirror, reflecting the sky so perfectly that the horizon disappears, leaving the illusion of walking on air. The effect is mesmerizing. Clouds seem to drift beneath one's feet, and the vast emptiness blurs the line between reality and dream. During the dry season, the salt flats take on an entirely different appearance. The ground becomes a cracked hexagonal pattern, stretching as far as the eye can see. The blinding whiteness, contrasted with the piercing blue of the sky, creates an otherworldly landscape, one that feels more like another planet than Earth. In the middle of this surreal expanse, cacti-covered islands rise unexpectedly. Hidden deep within the verdant embrace of the Philippine archipelago lies the mystical island of Siquijor, a place whispered about in folklore and renowned for its ethereal beauty. Bathed in the golden glow of tropical sunlight, Siquijor is a sanctuary where untouched beaches, cascading waterfalls, and ancient traditions intertwine, offering an experience unlike any other. The moment you set foot on Siquijor's shores, you are greeted by an aura of mystery. Known as the Island of Fire, due to the luminescent swarms of fireflies that illuminate the twilight, the island feels like a realm suspended between reality and legend. Its coastline, fringed with swaying palms, gives way to powdery white sands that seem to dissolve into waters of impossible clarity. Salagduong Beach, with its limestone cliffs and turquoise shallows, beckons adventurers to dive from rocky outcrops into the embrace of the sea below. But Siquijor's magic extends far beyond its shores. Inland, the jungle hums with secrets, cradling the island's most mesmerizing treasures. The Cambugahay Falls, a three-tiered cascade of sapphire blue waters, invites travelers to wade into its cooling embrace. Rope swings dangle from ancient trees, allowing visitors to soar momentarily before plunging into the refreshing depths. The sound of water tumbling over rocks blends harmoniously with the chorus of cicadas and rustling foliage, creating a symphony of pure serenity. Siquijor is also a place where time-honored traditions flourish. The island is famous for its healers, mystical practitioners who use age-old knowledge of herbs, chants, and rituals to cure ailments of both body and spirit. In the mountains, secluded villages hold festivals dedicated to these healing arts, where concoctions are brewed from rare plants, and sacred ceremonies unfold under the watchful eyes of elders. Sunsets on Siquijor are nothing short of magical. As the sky ignites with hues of crimson and gold, the ocean mirrors the fiery display, casting shimmering reflections that dance upon the waves. Lying in a hammock beneath the whispering palms, One cannot help but feel that Sikihor holds a special energy, an essence of something ancient, something untamed, something eternally enchanting. In the highlands of northern Vietnam, hidden within folds of cloud and layered rice terraces, the town of Hoi Thai exists in a dream state between sky and earth. It doesn't announce itself. You arrive by winding roads that twist through valleys carved by time, and when you reach it, you feel as though you've crossed not just space, but centuries. Hoi Thai rests on the edge of the clouds, literally. A sea of mist rolls over the valleys each morning, spilling like milk across mountains dotted with Hmong and Hani villages. Homes made of mud walls and thatched roofs cluster on hillsides, golden rice paddies cascading below like scales of a sleeping dragon. The air here is different, moist, floral, laced with wood smoke and the distant clink of livestock bells. Everything moves slowly, softly. During the harvest season, the terraces explode in color. Amber gold, sunlit jade, deep umber. It feels like a living painting, changing hue with every breeze. Children run barefoot along the narrow earth edges that divide each tier, their laughter echoing across the valley. Women in traditional dress, colorful and layered, work the fields with quiet grace, their conical hats bobbing against the mountainside as they move like part of the land itself. Clouds rise from the valley floor like ghosts, thick, endless, swallowing and revealing the world in minutes. One moment you're standing above a green kingdom bathed in golden light, and the next, the entire landscape vanishes into white. In those moments, the only thing that exists is you, the sky, and the heartbeat of the earth beneath your feet. Travelers rarely make it here. The journey is long, the roads uncertain, but those who do never forget it. Hoi Thai isn't a destination, it's a sensation, a feeling that lingers behind your eyes long after you've left. Mist clings to the jagged cliffs like a whispered secret, and the air trembles with the hush of ancient water carving its legacy through stone. This is the Yarlung Tsangpo Grand Canyon, a place so vast, so inaccessible, it seems etched into the very bones of a forgotten earth. Winding through southeastern Tibet, this is not just the deepest canyon on the planet. It is one of the least seen, veiled by the wildest frontiers of geography and myth alike. Above, Namcha Barwa pierces the heavens, a dagger of ice slicing into clouds that drift like spirits over the chasm. Below, the river rages. The Yarlung Tsangpo River is no gentle stream, but a thunderous cascade of turquoise fury, winding through mountain walls draped in velvet moss and silver waterfalls. The scale is colossal, deeper than the Grand Canyon, cloaked in near impenetrable jungle and wreathed in perpetual mist. Each twist of the river reveals landscapes so remote they seem alien. Forests burst from sheer rock faces, their leaves glistening with the breath of cloud. Parrots and snow leopards inhabit the same mysterious ecosystem, as if some divine hand accidentally blended tropic and tundra. Monks who have lived in silence for years speak of the canyon as a living being, a sentient force that guards the entry to sacred lands few outsiders will ever behold. There is a silence here that humbles, not the absence of sound, but a presence, an ancient, humming resonance that seems to rise from the stone itself. Footsteps echo differently, carrying into the thick air like offerings. You do not visit the Yarlung Tsangpo. You arrive, and it decides whether you are allowed to stay. Deep within this gorge, there are places where no satellite has mapped, where no drone has flown. Villages built into cliff faces like secrets, where time moves not in hours, but in seasons. You may hear laughter echoing across the ravine, but you'll see no one. You may follow a path only to find it ends not with a road, but with a staircase chiseled into rock, vanishing into fog. And in that moment, standing on the edge of the abyss, breathing the same thin air that brushes the peaks of forgotten gods, you begin to understand. Some wonders were never meant to be touched, only witnessed and remembered in awe. Shaped by time and veiled by isolation, the village of Gásir lies on the northern coast of Iceland, along the cold shores of Eyjafjörður. Most who visit this country never hear its name, but in the quiet solitude just beyond the modern city of Akureyri, remnants of a once bustling medieval trading post whisper stories to the wind. Moss creeps between ancient stones, and black sand merges with tufts of grass bent by Arctic winds. The silence here is palpable, broken only by the distant echo of seabirds and the soft lapping of waves against a forgotten shore. There are no tourist trails, no guiding signs, just the trace of human lives now swallowed by the earth. Yet as the mist rolls in from the fjord, the skeletal outlines of turf houses and blackened timbers emerge like ghosts. This is not the Iceland of postcards. This is a place suspended in time, where the hum of electricity feels like blasphemy. The sky stretches endlessly, brushed with streaks of steel gray and hints of lavender at twilight. And beneath it all, Gásir remains, a monument to the forgotten, carved into the land itself. The kind of place you don't just visit. You absorb it, quietly and reverently, as if walking through a living dream. Now the horizon shifts, and the lush green highlands of central Papua New Guinea unfurl like a living tapestry. Within this maze of river valleys and cloud-wreathed peaks lies Lake Kutubu, emerald, immaculate, untouched. Its surface reflects the sky like a mirror laid upon the earth, ringed by thick forests and villages built from palm and bamboo. The lake appears almost otherworldly, a secret pool of ancient life hidden from all but the most determined traveler. Few roads penetrate this remote region, and fewer still dare venture beyond them. The people of the Kutubu region have lived here for generations, their way of life largely unaltered by the modern world. Canoes glide silently across the water, paddled by villagers whose traditions are steeped in myth and reverence for the land. Their homes sit perched above the lake on wooden stilts, and at night, warm lamplight glows through hand-woven walls like distant stars scattered across a jungle sky. Beneath the surface, the lake holds rare species of fish found nowhere else on Earth, including the sleek and shimmering Kutubu rainbow fish, a living jewel in liquid glass. But it's the air here that lingers in memory long after you've gone. It's thick with scent, ferns, wood smoke, rain, and sound, the hush of trees, the far-off beat of a garamit drum. There's something sacred in the stillness, something ancient in the echo. Lake Kutubu doesn't just exist, it breathes. High above the verdant sprawl of Sichuan's mountain jungles, where morning fog clings like ancient silk and the air is rich with the scent of pine and mystery, there exists a village suspended in time and stone. Wawu Mountain's hanging coffins. You arrive not by car or train, but by a winding path that narrows until it feels as if you're walking the seam between the known and the forgotten. Here, in this hidden realm where cliffs rise like the flanks of sleeping titans, an ancient ritual lingers in gravity-defying silence. The hanging coffins, dark wooden boxes affixed to vertical rock faces hundreds of meters above the forest floor, are remnants of the Bo people, a vanished culture whose rites remain shrouded in enigma. How they placed these coffins so high, balanced on stone outcroppings and wooden beams hammered into sheer cliffside, is a mystery that eludes even modern climbers. But their purpose, that's poetry. To elevate the dead above the earth, to send their souls closer to the heavens. The coffins themselves are worn with age but resolute, silhouetted against skies that blush pink and gold at dusk. Below, the forest stirs with unseen life, the distant call of a macaque, the rustle of wind through bamboo, the hush of a stream carving secrets into the moss. You stand at the base of the cliff, neck craned, and feel as though you're staring not at burial, but ascension. There is reverence in the air, thick as incense. The path winds through scattered shrines, each one a whisper from the past, inviting you to sit, to listen, to wonder. Not merely about the dead, but about the living who carried their ancestors here. Up jagged trails, along dizzying ledges, through ritual and firelight. The forest holds its breath around you, as if the trees themselves remember. And maybe they do. In the far reaches of New Zealand's South Island, where rugged cliffs meet the restless sea, lies the mystical Fjordland, a land sculpted by glaciers and cloaked in an air of untouched wilderness. Towering peaks rise sharply from dark fjords, their sheer faces draped in cascading waterfalls that tumble from great heights. The most famous of these fjords, Milford Sound, is a place of staggering beauty, often shrouded in mist that drifts between its peaks like a ghostly veil. Sailing through the fjord, the world seems to stand still. The water is so deep and inky that it mirrors the mountains perfectly, creating a dreamlike reflection of the world above. Dolphins dance alongside boats. Seals lounge lazily on rocky outcrops. And if one is lucky, a rare glimpse of a Fjordland-crested penguin can be caught amid the ferns that cling to the cliffsides. One of the most humbling sights is Stirling Falls, a dramatic cascade that plunges over 500 feet into the fjord below. The wind carries its spray far into the air, soaking those who dare venture close enough. But Fjordland's magic extends beyond its waterways. Hidden within its dense forests are trails that lead to breathtaking viewpoints, where the silence of the land is broken only by the distant call of birds. At night, the sky above Fjordland comes alive. With virtually no light pollution, the Milky Way blazes in full clarity, its brilliance reflected in the calm waters below. It is a place of pure, unspoiled wonder, where nature reigns supreme, and the wild beauty of the world remains untamed. Thousands of miles away, where the African wilderness pulses with life, lies a place of sheer, untamed wonder, the Magadik Ponds of Botswana. A shimmering salt flat stretching as far as the eye can see, this surreal landscape is both haunting and mesmerizing, a place where the earth and sky seem to merge in an endless horizon. In the dry season, the Makgadikgadi is an expanse of silence, a vast mirror reflecting the heavens. The ground, parched and cracked, creates intricate patterns beneath your feet, while the distant heat warps the air, creating mirages that dance on the horizon. Yet even in this barren beauty, life persists. Lone baobab trees stand like ancient guardians, their gnarled limbs reaching toward the sky. Wildebeest and zebra trek across the desolate plains, their hooves kicking up dust as they follow paths etched by migration patterns older than time itself. But when the rains arrive, the transformation is nothing short of miraculous. Within days, the salt flats give way to an emerald sea of grass, and the land awakens. Flocks of flamingos descend in the thousands, painting the sky with hues of pink as they wade through the shimmering waters. Elephants, once distant wanderers, gather at the newly formed waterholes, their trunks dipping into the cool relief of fresh rain. The Magadak Gadi, in its ever-changing nature, is a reminder of the resilience and adaptability of life, a place where even the harshest landscapes bloom into something extraordinary. Now leap across the globe to the edge of the Andes in northern Argentina, where the town of Purmamarca nestles in the shadow of the Hill of Seven Colors. This is a landscape painted by geology over millennia, where rock strata rise like frozen waves, each layer a different hue: ochre, violet, rust, rose, green, gold, and pearl, like God spilled his palette and let it dry in the sun. The morning sun ignites the mountain in silent fire. You wake to roosters crowing and market stalls being set up along cobblestone streets. Hand-woven textiles sway gently in the breeze, dyed in the same earth tones as the hills above. Llamas watch from shaded doorways, and old women with sun-creased faces greet you with a nod, as if to say, "This beauty is old. Older than words, older than names." Wander the Paseo de los Colorados, a walking trail that wraps behind the painted hill, and you're swallowed by silence. The earth crunches underfoot, the dry wind combs your hair, and above you, the rock blazes like stained glass. Every step forward is a movement through geological time, a communion with the bones of the world. In Purmamarca, time is a slow flame. People sip mate on porches, take siestas in the shadow of adobe walls, gather at twilight in the square as guitars and laughter float into the dusk. Night falls hard and fast here, but when it comes, the stars arrive in force, dense and brilliant and seemingly within reach. You find yourself standing in the dark, listening to wind tumble down the mountain like a secret. The Hill of Seven Colors disappears into shadow, but you still feel it, towering behind you, ancient and alive. From the arid whisper of the Andes, the path turns toward water, and silence turns to thunder. Veiled beneath a skin of shifting sands and haunting stillness, the Badain Jaran Desert stretches across Inner Mongolia like a golden ocean, forever rippling beneath the breath of the wind. But hidden within its arid embrace lies a miracle no eye expects. A symphony of lakes, over 100 of them, glistening like sapphires in the sun. The lakes of Badain Jaran are impossibilities made real. Nestled between some of the tallest stationary dunes on Earth, rising over 500 meters into the sky, these bodies of water shimmer with mineral hues, ranging from deep cobalt to translucent emerald. No river feeds them, no visible source sustains them, and yet they endure year after year, reflecting the blazing blue of the Mongolian sky like fragments of another world. There is an eerie serenity in this desert. The dunes do not whisper, they sing. When the wind crosses their curved spines just right, the sand releases a low, echoing hum, an almost sacred resonance that local legends say is the voice of the desert itself. It's called the Singing Sand, and standing beneath a towering dune while it reverberates with sound is like listening to the earth dream. Nomadic herders still traverse this realm on camelback, their silhouettes flickering across the horizon like specters from centuries past. They know the secret oases, the wind's moods, and the paths carved not by compass, but by instinct and stars. Occasionally, they speak of temples sunken beneath the dunes, ancient ruins half swallowed by time, and prayers whispered to the lake spirits under a tapestry of stars. At night, the heavens open wider than imagination. The Milky Way spills across the sky in dizzying detail, unpolluted and unchallenged. mirrored in the glassy surface of a lake that has no name. You sit beside it, wrapped in the silence of a billion grains of sand, and understand why the ancients called this place sacred. Because here, in the middle of nothing, something impossible lives. Patagonia's Perito Moreno Glacier is a masterpiece of ice and time. Towering nearly 240 feet above the glacial lake below, its jagged walls gleam in brilliant hues of white and blue, shifting as sunlight dances across its crevassed surface. The glacier stretches for nearly 19 miles, a frozen river of ancient ice that flows slowly yet persistently, defying the steady retreat of most of the world's other glaciers. Standing at the edge of the viewing platforms, visitors can feel the cold air radiating from the ice. The occasional deep groan echoes through the valley, a warning before enormous chunks of ice calve from the glacier's face and plunge into the turquoise waters of Lake Argentino. The sound is thunderous, a raw display of nature's power, sending ripples across the lake's surface. Boat tours bring travelers closer to this icy behemoth, allowing them to witness its grandeur from the water, where towering ice walls loom overhead. Those seeking an even more immersive experience can trek across the glacier itself, guided by experts who lead the way over crystalline formations, deep crevasses, and ice caves that glisten like frozen cathedrals. Each step crunches against the surface, an exploration into a realm that feels almost otherworldly. The contrast between the glacier's icy expanse and the lush forests surrounding the region adds to its surreal beauty. It is a place of quiet majesty, a frozen titan standing resilient against time. There's a silence in the valley of Svaneti that speaks louder than words. Deep in the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, this ancient land sits cloaked in cloud and myth, as though the peaks themselves are guardians of a forgotten world. Svaneti is wild, unpolished, and achingly beautiful, a place where time has chosen to walk slowly, lingering in stone towers and whispering through alpine winds. The village of Ushguli, one of the highest inhabited settlements in Europe, rests beneath the icy majesty of Mount Shkara. Here, the air is thin and crisp, scented with wood smoke and pine, carrying echoes of chants from medieval churches that stand solemn among the homes. Stone towers, centuries old, puncture the sky like fingers of history, built by the Svan people to protect against raiders and avalanches alike. Their silhouettes against the morning fog feel almost reverent, like the remnants of a civilization carved straight into the bones of the earth. When the sun breaks over the peaks, light spills across the valley in golden ribbons, washing the green hills and narrow paths in color so vivid it feels unreal. Rivers braid their way down the slopes, their water so pure it mirrors the sky, and horses roam freely across meadows studded with wildflowers. There is a sacred kind of stillness here, one that humbles even the loudest heart. Travelers who find their way to Svaneti speak of a shift, of something unnameable that settles in their chest. Perhaps it's the weight of the mountains, or the ancient rhythm of life still beating in each stone. But more likely, it's the awe of realizing that there are still places on this earth that resist time, places that whisper stories instead of shouting them. Hidden among the ridges of Shanxi, draped in the dusty colors of legend, lies a fortress forgotten by time, etched into cliffs that look out over valleys steeped in silence. This is Guoliangjai, China's secret troglodyte village, not carved into rock like mere homes, but sculpted as a stronghold, a living monument to endurance. From afar, it appears as nothing more than the mountain's own bones. But come closer, and you see doorways cut into the cliffside, windows looking out over vertical drops, staircases zigzagging like spiderwebs between vertical walls. The entire village clings to the mountain like ivy grown into the stone. There are no streets here, only ledges. Narrow paths that twist through shadow and sunlight, barely wide enough for a man's shoulders. Chickens roost in crevices, rain barrels perch on ledges, and behind every doorway, the cave breathes with warmth, the smell of tea and firewood and earth. The people who remain here are few, mostly elders, guardians of stories spoken in hushed tones around bowls of millet porridge. They speak of wars long past, of rebels and hermits who vanished into the cliffs, of centuries of solitude preserved through skill, silence, and sheer will. There are no tour buses here, no gift shops or ticket booths, only wind and echoes, and the astonishing resilience of a people who shaped their world with nothing but stone and patience. And when the sun sets behind the cliffs, painting the valley in ochre and amethyst, the whole village vanishes into silhouette, becoming part of the mountain once more, hidden, silent, eternal. Traveling from the parched beauty of Botswana to the towering splendor of the Italian Alps, we arrive at a valley so pristine it seems almost untouched by time. Val di Funes. Hidden in the heart of South Tyrol, this idyllic valley is a masterpiece of rolling green pastures, jagged mountain peaks, and villages that feel as though they have been plucked straight from a storybook. At the center of it all stands the awe-inspiring Odal mountain range, its jagged peaks piercing the sky like stone spires carved by the hands of giants. These mountains, often dusted with snow even in late spring, form a dramatic backdrop to the lush meadows below. Cows graze lazily on the verdant slopes, their bells chiming softly as a gentle breeze sweeps through the valley. The most iconic sight in Val di Funes is the tiny church of St. John in Ranui. Standing alone in a sea of green, this charming chapel, with its Baroque facade and onion-shaped dome, looks almost too perfect to be real. As the golden light of evening sets in, the entire valley is bathed in a warm glow, casting long shadows that stretch across the land like a painter's final brushstrokes on an already perfect canvas. Hiking through the valley, the trails lead to panoramic viewpoints where the world unfolds before you in breathtaking detail. The scent of pine fills the air, and the occasional burst of wildflowers adds pops of color to the landscape. The people of Val di Funes, warm and welcoming, still honor their alpine traditions. Wooden farmhouses adorned with carved balconies, fresh cheese made from the milk of local dairy cows, and hearty mountain dishes that speak of a life connected to the land. There is a corner of northern Albania where the mountains wear snow like a crown, and the rivers run like veins of light through the valleys. This is the Accursed Mountains, a name that carries a sense of foreboding. But the moment your eyes touch this land, you understand that it's not cursed. It's sacred. The Valbona Valley, nestled deep within these jagged peaks, feels like something whispered into existence. The road into the valley winds like a ribbon, tracing the edges of roaring rivers and soaring cliffs. Tiny stone houses appear along the way, perched like secrets held close to the chest of the mountains. The roofs are steep and gray, the fences made of crooked timber, and smoke curls upward in the early morning, as if the earth itself is exhaling. The color palette here is surreal. Crystalline turquoise rivers carved by glacier melt, green meadows dusted with alpine flowers, and peaks the color of old silver looming high above. Hikers traverse old shepherd paths that open up to ridgelines so vast and untouched, it feels like the gods forgot to close the door to heaven. There's a quiet here that's not empty, but full of wind, of water, of stories carried for generations. Every stone has a memory. Stay with a local family, and you'll be welcomed with fresh bread, honey still warm from the hive, and mountain tea brewed with wild herbs gathered nearby. Their hospitality is not a performance. It is survival transformed into ritual, giving as a way of life. And as night falls, the sky is unpolluted by anything but starlight. The mountains disappear into shadow, and you realize they were never looming. They were watching. Nestled in the folds of Qinghai's desolate highlands, where the sky presses low and the earth seems paused between epochs, lies a place where salt becomes poetry, Chaka Salt Lake. Known as the mirror of the sky, this celestial expanse lies silent and gleaming, a white desert that turns into infinity with the fall of rain. From a distance, Chaka appears like snow or cloud trapped on the ground. But step onto its hard-crusted surface, and you are walking across reflection itself. The sky, with all its storms and serenity, duplicates perfectly on the lake's shallow water. Mountains float inverted. Clouds drift beneath your feet. The horizon vanishes. Each step sends ripples through this illusion. You begin to lose all sense of depth, of above and below. There is only light, silence, and your own suspended shadow walking across the heavens. In summer, the sun paints the lake in endless white and silver, dazzling enough to require tinted glasses just to look. In early autumn, a single drop of water transforms it into a living mirror. At dawn, pink clouds melt into lavender haze, and by nightfall, the stars descend to meet themselves in the stillness. This is not a lake in the traditional sense. It's a ritual of stillness. Trains used to roll across its edges, salt harvested from its crust, like snow gathered from porcelain. But today, pilgrims come not for minerals, but for wonder. Brides walk barefoot across its waters. Drones float above it like dragonflies. Yet even surrounded by modern awe, the lake holds its own rhythm, its own quiet. There are no waves here, no sound but the slow crackle of salt beneath your feet. And as you stand in the heart of it, with the world stretched out in perfect symmetry, you begin to feel smaller than the smallest star, and somehow more connected to them all. Far from the moody landscapes of Scotland, where the earth shimmers in golden hues beneath an unrelenting sun, lies the surreal wonder of the Bungle Bungle Range in Western Australia. Rising like an ancient labyrinth from the vast outback, these beehive-shaped domes of orange and black sandstone are a geological marvel, a place where time is etched into every crevice and curve. The journey to the Bungle Bungles is not for the faint of heart. The dirt tracks wind through remote stretches of wilderness, the red dust swirling in the air, catching the sunlight like tiny embers. But as the formations come into view, standing tall against the endless sky, all sense of distance and effort fades away. This is a place like no other, a land sculpted by millennia of wind and water, a cathedral of stone where silence speaks louder than words. The best way to experience this otherworldly landscape is from above. A helicopter ride over the range reveals the full scale of the formations, layer upon layer of ancient rock, their colors shifting with the movement of the sun. From this height, the Bungle Bungles resemble a massive, petrified honeycomb stretching as far as the eye can see. Below, hidden gorges slice through the sandstone, leading to secret pools and lush oases nestled within the desert's embrace. Thousands of miles away, where Africa stretches its arm into the Indian Ocean, the Quirimbas archipelago shimmers off the northern coast of Mozambique like a trail of spilled pearls. Of its 32 coral islands, many remain untouched, unpaved, unlit, unspoiled. But Ibo Island is different. Ibo is forgotten history, wrapped in sea breeze and draped in bougainvillea. The tide pulls far out here, exposing glassy tidal flats that stretch to the horizon. You can walk barefoot across the ocean floor at low tide, weaving between corals and scattered shells, trailing hermit crabs and egrets. When the sea returns, it comes swiftly, warm, gentle, and endless. The island breathes with the slow rhythm of the ocean. Crumbling Portuguese forts, overtaken by vines and moss, stand along the coast like haunted watchmen. Ornate iron balconies cling to the facades of faded colonial mansions. Narrow alleyways weave between stone walls, their shadows deep and cool. And beneath it all, a hum of voices speaking Swahili and Makua, of wind moving through ancient casuarinas, of the ocean rising and falling like the lungs of the world. On Ibo, fishermen cast their nets in dugout canoes carved from single tree trunks. Children splash in mangroves at dusk, and the scent, salt, mango wood, and distant fire, clings to every breeze. As night falls, the island quiets completely. Stars explode across the sky, reflected in the still lagoon. It feels like the universe is whispering, and Ibo Island is the only place listening. In the dense green heart of Guatemala, where ancient stories cling to the trees and mist gathers like memory, lies the lost city of Yaxha. Unlike its more famous cousins, this Maya site remains quiet, undisturbed, tucked within the jungle near Lake Yaxha, a mirror of stillness reflecting the sky and canopy alike. The ruins rise unexpectedly from the forest floor. Stone pyramids, their steps worn with centuries of barefoot ascent, emerge from the earth like ancient sentinels. Ceiba trees wrap their roots around crumbling temples. Vines dangle across carved stelae, and howler monkeys call out across the canopy with voices like thunder. Climb Temple 216 at sunset, and you'll find yourself high above the treetops, staring out across a jungle that breathes. The lake glows with orange fire. The sky shifts from indigo to violet, and the silence here is profound, not empty, but filled with the hum of cicadas, the rustle of leaves, the lingering presence of those who once called this sacred. You don't visit Yaxha for spectacle. You come for presence, for stillness, for the feeling that for a brief moment, you are standing in the overlap of worlds, ancient and now, earth and sky.